So Sasha is going to be our
like,
teacher.
is it like you did it
And the
and you
backdrop is
lost
going to
them?
complement our
The
project.
ones I
Okay?
tried doing, I lost them
Now,
because of the internet.
this is the block we're going to be using.
Oh,
So the first block we'll be
so
using
sorry, but
is
then you
Wayne
have
Green
to do
Flag
it
Script. We're going to
again.
use Wayne Green Flag Script for this particular
Okay.
project. Remember, the
Yeah, you
project we
have to
just
do
finished, we
it
didn't
again.
use Wayne
No,
Green
no
Flag
So
more.
Script.
just
So for this
morning,
one, we'll
dear.
use it.
So
Okay,
do you
So
ma.
the
have
next
the
block we'll be using
do you
is
have the
set my
links
variable
to?
to 0. Okay?
Yes.
The next block
So
we'll be
just go
using
to
is
the link
ask
store
what's the
and watch the
name
videos for the
and wait.
ones that you lost that you have
The
not
next
done
block
it.
we'll be using
Then
is
you
the
will
if
know
then
how
loop.
to
Not just if then
do
loop.
it,
You know we
and
have
then
the if
download the
then loop and we
assignment so
have the
you know
if
what
then
you're going
else
to do
loop.
in the
So for
assignment.
this
Okay.
project we're going to be using
Okay.
the if then else loop. We have not used it
Sorry,
before. So
somebody wanted
today
to
we're
ask
going
a
to use it
question.
and see how it can be used.
Ma, I came late, so I'm here to
So the
catch up. I'm
next
prepared for my
block we'll be
dissertation,
using
that's why.
is our equal to block.
So have you written your
Okay,
exam
which
or
we
you're
can get in
still
our
okay, saying you're
operators.
preparing?
Then
I'm
the next code we'll
preparing.
be using is the
I
answer.
wish you good luck. But the thing is
The next
that
one we'll be using is play sound.
please, the thing is
Ta-da!
that you
Until done.
can catch up with us,
The
okay?
next one we'll be using is
Yes,
So
ma'am.
change my
just
variable by
just
1.
do the ones that you
The
can
next
do because
code
I
we
know
have
you
here
will
is
also be
say
reading
hello
for
for
your
2
junior
seconds.
YL. So just
The
try
next
and
block
do
we're
the
going to be
ones that you
using
can
is
do before that
another
Saturday. Do you have
say
the
hello
Lisco
for
app?
2 seconds. But here it's not going to
Yes,
say hello,
ma'am.
we're going to program it
So just
and
go
type
to
in
the
what we
Lisco
want
app.
it
You
to
will see
say.
all the
Okay?
Zoom videos. All
So the
right,
next block
we
we'll be
have
using is this
Zoom
play
recorded class for
sound
all the
bump
class we have
until done.
from the first day
The
to
next block we're
today.
going to be using is
Okay,
the say block.
Ma'am.
then you can also watch the
The next
pre-recorded
block we're going
video,
to be using is the
and
join
the
apple
assignment
banana
is also
block.
there for you
Okay,
to
but
download
it's
the
not going to be
assignment.
apple
So
and
you see
banana
the
that will be in a
instruction that we
project.
are
You're going
giving.
to
Okay,
type
Okay,
in
ma'am.
what
so
you want to be
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
there.
you'll be able to
You
catch
see
up
that's
with
when we
us.
start
And good luck in your
programming.
exams there.
Thank
Okay,
you, ma'am.
so the next block we'll be using is the score.
So who else
The
has a
score block, which
question?
is going to be a variable we are going to create by ourselves. All right. So the next step we'll be using is to duplicate.
So
So when we
whoever
are
else has
done
a
projecting the
question.
first one, we don't have to go back and forth again, dragging block and dropping. So we're going to duplicate it. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do that. Keep watching, okay? So that's it.
Okay, so
And after
nobody
that, our
else
project will be set.
has.
And this is what our project
All
will look
right,
like by the time we're done,
please.
okay?
Let's
Now,
just
we're going
wait
to
for
scratch
some other
together.
people to come so that they will not come and start
Let's go and
asking,
do it together in
Ma, please,
scratch,
how
okay?
did we do this? Ma, please, can you
All
go
right,
back?
now
So
let's create a new
please,
project. We have already
actually, all
saved
the
our project.
patients, let's wait for
Let's
them a
create a new
little.
one.
All right.
Okay, see that? All right, now we are not going to use our cat. So let's delete the cat. All right, and then we click on our sprite icon to choose Sasha. We go to people to get people. Okay, and then we'll scroll. Let's scroll. Let's scroll. Where is Sasha? Sasha is right here. Click on Sasha, and Sasha is here on our stage waiting for us. Okay, now let's go to our backdrop library and look for chalkboard. Is right here, so you don't need to scroll down again. Click on it, and our chalkboard is right here on our stage. Now our project is making sense. Let's take Sasha
So
to
let me just give
should we
you
take
tell you
should
guys
we
what we
take
are
him to
going
the
to be
right or to
doing
the left?
today.
I think we should
So
place him
today
here.
is all
This will be
about
better,
book
okay?
covers.
Now
Okay. So
we want to
today
do
we're
something with this our
designing a
backdrop,
book
right?
cover, a storybook
So
cover.
we're going to click on our backdrop
Alright.
and we'll click on backdrops.
So
Can you see
everyone should get their
backdrops
Canva
here?
ready now.
You click on it,
So that when we start, we just
voila! Here is our backdrop, right? So
Ma, when are we
we need
starting?
to type in something there, right? We go to
we
text.
start once
But firstly,
it's
this is a blackboard
9:50.
and we have color black
Alright.
here. So we're going to change
Just
the
give them
color.
five
We
more
want to type
minutes
with
and then we'll start.
white. We want our
Okay, ma.
text to be
Good
white,
morning,
right?
ma.
Okay,
Good
so you
morning,
click
dear.
on white color. All right, that's it. Then now you can click on test. Then you click right there. Okay, now we can now write. Let's type in maths quiz, but we need to use a capital letter for it. Maths quiz. math quiz game. Okay, but let's type math quiz first and work on it. Let's expand it to look bold. Make it look bold. And you see that. Voila. Okay, I think we should take it up a little bit. That's it. So we'll have space to type in something else. Now we're going to type in game. Game. Click here. And then we'll type in game. Okay. Then we'll
Please mute yourself.
click
Please
on our
mute
selector,
yourself.
right? Then we still do the same. We're going to make it. Let's stretch it. Okay. And bring it down. No. Bring it down. I think that's it. And then this thing got shifted. Place it right here. And this right here. It's looking good now. Math quiz game. Wonderful. Now let's go back to our code to go and start coding, right? I know you can't wait to see the codes. Now let's click on events. We drag when green flag is clicked and you drop it. We have not created our variable, so let's go and create our variables. You know how to create your variables already, right? So you click on make a variable, and then we're going to type in score. Type in score there. Score. Can you see? It's right there. So for this game, remember I told you when you want to create a game, you're going to use the normal readout. So this is the normal readout. You're going to use it for this. Okay. So let's go back. Okay, we don't need to go back. Say when green flag is clicked, set my score to 0. Let's change my variable to score. Okay, set my score to 0. Can you see that? Then we'll go to our sensing blocks and we'll choose ask.
We have 2 more
The
minutes
ask
to
and
go.
wait block, you drop it here.
Shall we
Ask what's your
start?
name, that's what's here, right? But we don't want our project to go with that, so we're going to delete it and then we'll type in what we want. Ask what is 5 plus 5. Ask what is 5 plus 5 and you add a question mark to it. Ask what is 5 plus 5 and wait. Now we go to our controls and we pick our if then else block. Okay, we pick it and you drop it right here. Okay, and then we'll go to our operators and we pick our equal to. Pick it or equal to that or put it here. Now ask 5 plus 5 and wait. If answer is equal to, then now let's go and locate our answer block. Our answer block is in the sensing block palette. Okay, see our answer right here. You drag it and you drop it right here. Can you see where I'm dropping it? You drop it there. If answer is equal to 50, of course the answer cannot be equal to 50. 5 plus 5 is 10. So now we're deleting this 15 and we add our 10 right there. Can you see that? If answer is equal to 50, then play sound for us. We want it to play sound for us.
Okay.
Tadan.
We are going to
Okay,
start right
but there is no
now.
tadan here. We
So
have
let me
only
share
pop,
my screen to
and we don't want
guys,
pop.
and then right now I'm
So
going to mute
now we go to our tabs. Can you see? You click on
If you
sound
have a question, you ask
to take us to our sound library. You come right here. Can you see where my mouse is hovering? You click there, and then we're here in our sound library. Now we type in tada
Let me share my
because we have a lot of sounds here. So if you start looking for it, we may not find it on time. Okay, so can you hear that? So we are using this sound.
Mark,
Okay.
are we open?
Now let's go to our code.
Yes, you
You
can.
have already selected the Tadan sound, so it should be here. Now, here is it. You click on Tadan. Alright? Now, when you place the Tadan, you go to,
So, like I told you guys,
variables,
today
right?
is the 10 of
And
the
you want
Easter
it
Coding
to
Fest,
change your score
and this is
by
supposed to
1
be
because you got
12
it correctly.
meetings,
Okay?
or it's going to be
When the
13
answer
because
is
on
equal to 10, that is when the
Saturday,
player answers
you guys need
gets
to
the answer
present your
correctly, right?
projects.
You want
That's all the
a Tadan
assignments that
sound,
are being given you
and then
guys.
you want
But
your
then
score, the
on
score to be changed by
Friday,
1.
our
Okay? You can
class
also make your
officially
score to be
stops.
5.
Okay, then
Maybe you
Saturday, you
want
guys
one of the
present
answer to
your
be equivalent to
assignment.
5
Okay.
marks. So you can choose to
So
change it, but for
today
me
we are
now,
going to
I'm
be
using
talking
1,
about
right?
designing storybook cover.
And then we want it to
Right?
say something
Storybook cover. You know your
again. We
levels that
want
you
it
see
to go to your looks
that
block.
you read. Today we are going to be talking about
Whoa,
designing
we
the
have been
cover.
we've been coding
Right?
for
But before we start,
backdrop.
let's
That is why we
quickly
can't find our looks
go for
block
the
here.
day. So
Okay,
the go for the
we've been
day is
coding
to
for
help you guys apply all that we have learned,
we've been coding for
color,
backdrops. Am I supposed to
fonts,
code for
layout,
backdrops, right?
and
So we
then
click on
creativity
Sasha. It's
by
Sasha that we are coding
designing a
for.
storybook
So right
cover,
about now, we are going
right?
to
For a
drop
real
this
or
and return
imaginary
back to
story.
Sasha. It's Sasha that we are
Okay.
coding for. We
So
didn't
what
change it.
is book cover?
So let's quickly
Right?
get to where we
What is
are,
book cover?
right?
So a
Since
book
we
cover
already
is the
have
first thing someone sees
our
before
variables
they
there,
read a book.
so it's not going to
It
be
gives clue about what the
not going to
story
take
is
us much
about and
time, right?
help people decide if they want to
Okay,
read it.
and we'll
I
go
want to believe
to
that
where's the
everybody
next block
here
there, the axe
knows what
here.
a book cover
We'll go
is.
to our
Everybody knows what a
sensor,
book cover is.
and we'll get our axe,
This is a book cover. Alright,
and we'll
this is a
drop it, and then
storybook
we'll
cover
type in our
right here. So like it's kind of the first
what
thing you see when you get a book,
what
and it gives you
is
information right
5
about the
plus 5 with a
book.
question mark, right?
Okay, just by
Then we'll
looking
go to
at
our
the book
loops.
cover, you get to
We
understand
get our if then else. Okay, just
the
as we
book
did,
is all
as
about.
I explained to you to do.
Right.
Go to our
So
operators, drag this
now,
and drop
a
it,
well designed
just as we've
cover,
done
right,
that before.
reflect the story theme and
We've gone
genre.
through the
Just like I said
steps,
that once you
so
see a book cover, right,
you saw
it
everything we
reflects
did
the
there,
story theme.
and then we'll change this
All
to
right.
10, right?
It tells you what the
Now
book
we
is
already
all
have
about.
our sound there, so we don't
That is
need
for
to
a
go and start
well
looking
designed
for
cover.
the sounds
Then it
again.
captures the reader's
So we
attention with
change our
visuals
pop,
and
so
design.
okay, it's no longer there.
You get
Then
the
we'll go back
storybook cover,
to
all right, for kids, right? You know, the book
go to
cover,
our
when you see a
sounds,
book
right?
cover, it actually tells just
We
with
go
the
to
book
our
cover, you want
sounds
to know
and
if
then
you're
we
going to
look
read this
for,
book or not. Let me say now you see
then
a
we'll pick it.
boring
That's it.
book
Go to
cover.
our
If
codes.
you want to read
Then we'll change the pop to
the content,
our tab, right?
you wouldn't
Now
because
we
the
want it
first
to change our variable by 1, right? Change our score by 1. Okay,
let me just say the
change
first cover you are seeing
my
is
score
not looking interesting
by 1.
to
All
you.
right,
So in your mind you'll be like, why
now
would I want to read
we
this book?
want it to say
This
something.
book is not
Okay,
interesting.
I think
Just
this is where
because
we
the
stopped, right?
design
We want it to say something, so
is
now we're
not
going to drag
fine.
this block
So a well
to say
designed
hello for
cover,
2 seconds.
right,
I will
should be
drop
able
it
to capture
under
readers'
our
attention with visuals
change
and
score. Okay,
design.
still
And it
inside
should
our
give an
event
idea of
loop.
the narrative
Now we don't
without
want it to
revealing
say
too
hello,
much.
so we're going to delete the hello block,
Right?
and we're going to type in correct.
Now, let's look at the elements of storybook cover.
So it's
Okay,
going
let's
to
look at the
scream
elements
correct
of
when you get
storybook
the
cover.
answer correctly.
So,
That's why we're typing in
the first
correctly. Okay,
element is
it's going to say
title.
correct for 2
You
seconds
know,
after playing the
title
tada
is the name
sound
of
and
the
then adding
story,
1 score to your
and the
scores.
name of the story
All
should
right,
be
then
clear,
else.
bold, and
So if
easy
they don't
to
get the answer correctly,
read,
if the player
just like we
fails the
have
answer,
here.
we want something to happen as well,
Right?
right? We
If you
want a
look at
sound to
this,
play.
you see
But this time
that
around, we're not
it is
using the tada
bold,
sound. Let's go to
it is
our
clear,
sound.
and it is
Sounds. We
easy
drag the
for
sound
you to
button.
read. Like this is not hard. What you see is,
block,
you know,
and we drop it right inside the
so you see the
else
title is big.
space,
And
okay?
basically, the title is
Just as I
even one
did.
of the first things that
Now
I see.
there is no, we're going to use
Apart
bonk,
from the
the
image
bonk
that is
sound. There
here.
is no bonk here.
First thing that
So
my
just as
eyes
we did
goes
for the
to.
first sound, we
Alright,
go
so
back to our sounds
one of the
and
elements
we
of book
go
cover
to the
is
sound
title.
library,
Title,
and then we'll type
is the
in
name of the
bonk.
story, and then the name should be clear, it should be bold,
Can you hear the bonk sound?
easy to read.
So
So
now
when
we
choosing
click on the
fonts, you
bonk
choose
sound.
fonts that are easy to
Alright,
read.
then
Right?
let's go back to our code. It should be there
Then the
because I've
second
already
element
selected
we
it.
have is illustration or
Now
graphics.
we choose the bonk
Right?
sound,
So if you look at
and
this
then we
now,
need it to say something, okay?
I don't know
We
for
want
the
our
boys,
project to say something when you fill the
okay, but
answer.
I know that
So we're
if you're
going to
a
our
girl,
loops
if you
block
see this
again
book, you
and
want to
drag the
read
say
it.
hello for
Because
2
it's
seconds
giving
block.
that
We put it
presence,
right here.
you know,
And now we're
in the
going to
kingdom
delete the
vibe.
hello, and we're going to say
Alright?
incorrect.
So you see,
So when they
this
fail
is what we
the
mean by
the
illustration
answer, when they get the answer correct
graphics, right?
wrongly,
So minus
okay, it's
the
going to
title
say
here, on the right of here,
incorrect.
the whole page.
Alright,
This is what we mean by
it's going to say
illustration.
incorrect.
Alright, so the
Try
illustration
again.
the visual
Alright,
element should
try
match the mood of the story.
again.
Okay, so if I look
Incorrect.
at
Try
this
again for
illustration right here,
2
can somebody
seconds.
tell me
Alright, so
what
now we're going to
it is
duplicate this
giving?
instead of going back
The
and forth. Remember, I
illustration.
said I'm going to show you how to
So if you
duplicate.
want to talk, can you
Okay,
unmute
so we're
yourself?
going to
Can you
duplicate
raise up
from
your hand
this
so that
axe
I will
because that's what we're
unmute you? So
going
you
to
tell
change. We're
me
only going to change the
the
answer and the question. Alright,
what
you have
the
already
illustration what is
programmed
telling you about the
everything
story.
here. So all you need to do is duplicate and you place it under
Who
according
wants to
to how
answer?
many questions you want in your quiz. When
Okay.
you're creating your quiz, if you want your
I'll
quiz to have 5 questions, if you want
unmute
it to have 10
Tiwa
questions, if you want
first.
it to have 20 questions, you
Then
can just
Tiwa,
duplicate and then you change
unmute yourself.
your
The
answer
other
and your
thing about the
questions.
graphics
Okay,
is that
now
it's
I'm
giving
going to
mood.
duplicate.
Like the girl is
Okay,
in a
I come to this
in a
if
mood,
then
is in a forest.
loop. I'm going to right click to get this option.
You
Now
see?
you see the
Okay, you
options
can
here. We
mute
have the
yourself.
duplicate, the add
Who else
comment,
raised up
and
their
the
hand?
delete 8 blocks. Now I'm going to click on the duplicate
Wait,
because
was it
that's what we
only
want
Tiwa
to do,
that
right?
raised up?
You click on
Sorry,
it.
that raised.
Now I've already
Okay.
duplicated. I'm going to
So
keep it here.
Fumilayo,
Now I want to
unmute
duplicate
yourself.
the add block, right? Now let me duplicate the
Illustration
add
is
block.
So
I've already done
letting
that.
us know
I'm going
that
to
the
place
girl
it here.
lives in a wood.
And I'll take this one
Her
back to where it
house
was
Okay.
is
and
in a tree.
place it back exactly the way it was. Okay,
Okay.
a
Now
default,
mute
right?
yourself.
Then we're going
Trust Bridge. Oh yeah.
to change
Unmute yourself.
something here. Now the first question is what is 5 plus 5? Now let's do another thing. Let's say 1 plus 2,
Okay.
right?
All
You can make your project
so
more
mute
interesting, right?
yourself first.
What is, it must not be only plus, you
Chimno,
can mix it even times, you can use
unmute
times,
yourself.
multiplication, addition. Okay, all right, and you add your question mark. What is 7
It shows that the girl
minus
is
5?
living
Now we're going
in
to
a
change the
wood,
answer for
and
the
there
first
is
one because the first one is
something
10,
good
right?
that happens
So the second
there.
one, the answer to our question is 5.
Okay.
7 minus 2 is 5. Okay, so we're going to add
So
5
you
here.
see,
So when
even though
the
that we
player gets it correct or when the player gets it wrongly,
don't
our project is going to act the way we want it to,
actually
right?
know, you have not read the
So
story, all right,
now we're
the
going
content, all right.
drop
But then
it
just with the illustration that was given
right
here,
under,
we are able to,
we're going to
guess
drop it right
what
under
the
the
story
first
is all about.
book. Can you see that?
So your
Our
for your
project is
elements,
becoming
all
longer,
right,
but you
for
can keep
illustration and
scrolling. You
graphics,
can keep
your
scrolling, okay?
design, all right,
Keep
should match the
scrolling
mood
like this.
of the
Whoa,
story.
that is
Okay.
going up.
So obviously, you
You
guys
can
say
keep
this girl
scrolling.
lives
Can
in
you
a
see?
wood
When I'm
because if you look
scrolling, it's
at this
going up.
tree right here,
So when you
has
don't
a
have
door.
space at the down part again,
Okay.
you can scroll up to have enough space, just like
So
I did.
the
Now
next
we're going to
element
get
we'll be looking
our
at is
save
color
block.
theme.
Okay,
Scheme, all
now
right.
I'm setting
So
only
you
2
use color that
questions.
invokes emotion
When
linked to
you're
the
doing your own, you can
story.
set up to 10,
All right.
20,
So
how many
the
you want, all right?
colors
But for me,
that was
I'm going
used
to do
here
only
is basically
2 because I'm
blue
teaching
and
you,
green.
I'm showing you the
Cloud,
steps you can take, which I've
blue
already
and
done
green
justice
color.
here. Okay,
Okay.
now
So
we're
I
going to
think if you
get
look at the
our
story, he's talking about
say
a
hello block.
boy,
Now we want to
and
code
I don't know
for
if I should call this a cat
our
or a
final score.
mouse.
Okay, when
I
the
don't
player
know.
is not
But
answering
I
the
think I want to
questions,
believe
the
that
final
this is going
score,
to be
right?
like a
Now
friendly
we're going to our operators
vibe
and we get our
for the
join
novel.
block.
Okay, we're going to
We
give
get
like a
our join
friendly
block. I'll
nature
place it on
between
top
a
of this
human being
hello.
and
Can you
the
see it?
pet.
We place it on top of this hello.
All right.
And now
So
we are going
the
to
next one
type
is
in
typography. All
your
right. So the font
score
should align
is
with the story theme.
your score
Okay. So like we have here, if you
is
look at
okay.
the use here,
Right now we're
it's kind
going
of
to
aligning
our variables
with
to get our score,
the
because you are not going to type
cover.
in a particular score here because you don't know
Right.
the
So the
score that the person
graphics.
may end up getting. The person may
Okay.
end
So
up
the
failing
font that
some
you are
and getting
using, it
some.
should
You may
align with the
decide to add
story theme.
all the correct. Let's say
All
your
right.
quiz is a 10/10. You may
So
decide to add 10,
book cover,
and your player
right? Book
may
cover
fail
usually
5,
have
and
two
then you add 10,
sides.
making
There are
your
always two
project
sides to a
not to
book cover.
correspond. Okay,
Okay.
so
And
we're
the
going to
first
get a
one is the
score
front
block and you
cover,
place it
which
right on
shows
top
the
of that banana.
title,
Okay,
the author's name,
just as I'm
and a
going to do, I hope
picture.
you can see what I'm doing.
Like we
You
have
drag
here,
it and you
My Little
drop it
Family
here.
is the title.
So when the project is
Author's name
over,
is
when the
here.
quiz is over,
All right. And then
is going to
what else?
automatically
The
calculate how
picture
many score the player have
here.
earned, and is
Okay.
going to display
So
it to
that's
the player
for
by
the front
saying your
cover.
score is 10, your score is 5,
Why
your score is how many the person have earned. Okay,
Why the back
now
cover, all right,
it's going to say your
includes a
score is
short
this, equals to
description,
score, how many
all
score
right,
that is going to
maybe
display
a
at the end of the day,
picture,
right?
not every
Now
time, and
let's play.
sometimes a
Oh,
barcode or
click on the green
logo.
flag,
So for
click on the
the
red one.
back cover, right,
Now let's
is
start.
usually if you get any of your
Okay,
novels, you can check the back cover. You see that they always write like a
let me
short
click.
description, short
Can you see
narrative
our quiz now? It said
about
what is
the
5 plus
novel.
5?
Okay, sometimes you
Now I'm
see
going
the
to try
author's
to answer the
picture,
first one correctly, and I'm going to
all
try to
right,
answer the
and
second
then
one
a
wrongly,
barcode or
so
a
that you see the
logo.
actions, different actions that were
Okay,
programmed with it.
so
Okay, now 5 plus 5, of course, is 10.
now,
All right.
just like a movie poster grabs attention, a great book
Whoa,
cover
it
does the
said
same thing.
correct with a down
I
sound,
said in the
and then it
beginning, so
added
I told you
one
guys
score
that
to my score.
when you are
Okay.
designing a
Now
book
the
cover,
second
right,
question is,
design something that's
what
going to
is
be
7
it's going to
minus
grab
2?
the attention.
That's exactly what we
Or I'm going to
programmed it to
see they
say,
will
right?
want to read
And
your
7
book
minus
by
2
just looking
is
at the
5.
design,
But I want to fill it
just
intentionally
looking
so
at
that you see what will happen.
the
Okay.
book cover, they will want
Now
to
I'm going to
read
put 4,
your book. So if
which
you
is
finish
wrong.
designing
Okay.
a book cover, right,
Putting 4 there.
and then it's not able to grab people's
You see,
attention,
it gave me the
that
bonk
means
sound that I
you
failed
didn't
it,
do
and
well
it
in
said
your design.
incorrect. Try again
Okay,
later.
so
All right. And now,
now that we know what makes a book cover stand out, like we talked about the elements,
that's
the
it. You see,
title, typography,
can actually decide
illustration of
to
graphics, and color scheme. Okay, it's time to bring your ideas to
to
life. So
yeah.
let's open our Canva
This
and
expand
start
our screen to get
designing
a
our
better view.
very
Okay,
own
so I
front
will
and
always say
back book cover.
click
So
right here,
today we are
then
going
we'll
to
type in our
design
10.
a front and a back book cover.
You
All
see
right,
that
but then you guys know how we
now?
do it now.
Correct. Second
Before
one
we
is going
officially start the class, if I show you
for
guys what we are designing, people have to make some noise now.
incorrect. Try again later. You see, and
Who
it's already
is
calculated my score for you.
excited?
See, your score is 1. Okay, so when you are creating your own project, try to make it longer so it will be more interesting. Okay, make it up to 10 or 20 so that you have a bigger score. And you can decide to change your score.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you make
Somebody
one
says it's a baby
question
fox,
to be equivalent
not
to
a cat.
5.
Okay.
Okay, maybe make the
Oh,
score to be
you
5
guys are ready.
instead of 1, please, so that
Okay.
you have a bigger score at the end of the day. All
The,
right, so
this is the
let's
front
go back
cover
to
that
our
we're going to
variable,
design.
and simple math
Okay.
slides, right? And see what
This is
mess we
the
have
front
here.
cover
Voila.
right
So this is
here.
the
We
end
are
of
going
our
to
class.
design. Don't
Okay,
don't this look
see you
lovely?
in our next class.
So this is the
As
front
I always
cover. So let me
say,
show you guys the back
Scratch is all
cover.
about exploring and
Alright.
trying out new things. Okay,
In fact, let me
so
just
all the things
basically
that
show
you
you
learned
guys the
today,
two of
you
them.
can go and start doing practicals on your own. Use different backdrop,
So
different sprites. Okay, try
this
out new
is
things, be creative, because Scratch is all about creativity. All
So
right.
this is the design we'll be
Think
making
out of the
today.
box
This
and
is the
create out
front
something
cover,
interesting.
all right, and then
Okay,
this is the
and
back
you'll be
cover.
proud of yourself and
Okay,
you'll be
so we're
motivated
making
to keep
these
learning more.
two
All right.
designs.
So see
All
you in
right,
the
so
next class.
hope
Bye.
our Canva is ready.
Welcome
Because I
back,
am
guys.
ready.
So today we will
For
be
you guys.
beautifying our website using inline CSS style. So now what is
So open
our
your
goal
Canva.
for today? The first thing we need to learn is what CSS is and why it is important. The second thing is to understand how to use inline CSS style.
Like I've already
Then
opened
we'll
mine.
explore common CSS
And I think
properties.
Canva
We'll
upgraded
make our
their,
HTML tables look
their
amazing, and we'll create our own
website.
style.
I don't know, but
Now,
I
what
Canva
is
this morning,
CSS?
and I found out that
CSS stands
some
for
things have
Cascading
changed.
Style
And
Sheet.
some things are showing
This
you.
is a language that makes
You
the
guys remember
website
that
look
before we used
absolutely
to come
gorgeous.
here at the top
And
bar, we click
CSS
on it before we
controls
see
colors,
create
fonts, spacing,
the design.
and more. Now, what does CSS
Right.
do for you?
We used to
What
come,
CSS
then we
does
say
is
create
this.
a design
I already
here, but
told
then
you
now
that
once you just open it, you can see create
HTML
right
is
here.
just
So
like
they remove the
bricks
create icon and just put it at the left
when
side
you are
bar.
building a house.
So now you don't need
So
to
now when
create
you use
this
bricks to structure your house,
3 bars that
it
you
doesn't
see
beautify
here.
it. It only gives it a
Whose own
structure.
is
It
like
looks like
this
a
too?
house now, right?
Whose own
So
change?
then how do you beautify it? You use
Everybody's own change, or
colors,
is it
you
only
use
mine?
a whole lot of things to beautify your house. Now this is what the CSS does. So after your HTML, what comes in is CSS.
Okay.
There are 3 ways to use CSS. The first one is inline CSS,
Alright,
which
so
is
you guys see now
directly
they are making
in the
it easier for us.
HTML
So
tag
instead of us
using
to
the style
come
sheet.
here and start
There's another one called
come and start
internal
clicking on create
CSS,
design,
and it's
not
always
very
in the
easy
head.
for us. So
I told you the
now
structure
just
of
click on the
HTML, and I
create,
told you that
and
it starts
see
with
there,
doc type,
and then
HTML,
there's
you
this
see the
one pops
head, and
So
you
now we
see
are going to
the
search,
body.
alright?
Now I
So
told you that
since we are designing
where you
for
add the style
a
for
storybook
internal
cover, alright, you need to
CSS
search for
is
book cover.
in the head.
If you have clicked
You
on
already know what your
create,
head is. You
search
don't really
for
see any
book
content you
cover.
add to your head on the
So
page of
just
your
search for
website. You see it's just outside. Now there's another
cover.
one called external
Click
CSS.
enter.
External CSS, you have to create a different link for it, a CSS file for it, not a link, a different file. It happens outside the particular file you're working on. You leave it there strictly for, I told you how to structure your page by creating folders and files, you know. So now there's something called external CSS where you now keep your
So whoever
your
has
CSS file in a different file.
See, they even have
CSS, everything you are styling with the
novel,
page, you
book
keep it in a
cover,
file
and
so that
children's
everything
book cover,
happens
but
there. But then we're not going to dive into that. We're going to strictly learn inline CSS today. Okay, because it is the easiest to start with. I want you to fully understand what CSS does before we go to different types, okay? So the thing we are going to figure out today is
if you carry your
what
button
an
from here,
inline
you see it saying
CSS is. Now, inline CSS involves adding CSS style
51.
directly to a HTML element using the style attribute.
Right.
Now, how
By
does
800. But this one is
the styling work?
10,
When you have your tag, you add
alright, so you see
the style attributes inside that opening tag. Now, see my
But
code
if you're
here.
looking at it, you think they are the
The
same.
H1
Okay, for then what
here,
we're using is this particular
and it
one.
is not
First one,
closed with the
that's
slash yet. What do you
First
do?
one
You
says
put
book
a
cover.
style
Click on it.
inside that opening tag. Now this is where the slash, the closing happens, the tag closing happens here. Your content is here in between the two tags, the opening and the closing. If your content is there,
So, who has-
like this one that
Someone has
says
opened
food
mine
menu.
has opened.
So now how do you add your inline style? You use the
Here we go.
attribute called style. Look at this code I have right here. The attribute called style, and then you say equal to.
Okay, if your
Colon.
own did not
You
change,
say equal to. You give a quote. You put
If
your
your own
property,
did
whatever
not
thing you want to
change,
change
see
in your
what you have to do
HTML.
here.
If you want to change the font,
but then
you want
guys
to
should be
change the
familiar
width,
with the way we
if you want to
create a new
change the
design by
height,
now.
that is what comes here. Now you can
If yours did
have
not change,
font size
okay,
here in place of color.
come to
I'll show
this
you how
three
it's
bar
done. You don't
that
need
you
to
can
be
see
worried,
here.
okay? Now let me show you what this
Disclaimer.
looks like,
Okay.
exactly what it does
Okay.
in your website.
Just
So
go
we're
to-
going to the VS
And
Code.
then you click on create.
We're going to the VS Code, and for this particular lesson, I want to create a file for it, a separate file. Now, what do we do here? We name it style.html. Like I said the last time, when you are creating a file, a HTML file, you make sure that you put the .html behind, because it's
So,
the only
once
way
you
you
click
tell
on-
your
click on it
VS
and you
Code
see
that you are
create
trying to
somewhere
create
here.
a
So once you click on
HTML.
the create, you search for book.
Now we start.
That's
I already told you the
code is not
structure of the
like mine.
HTML, and I'll be doing that now. Make sure you are following. So now in the body, what we'll do is we will add
So I've
something.
opened
Let us use a tag. You can use any one of your choice for text, because what I want to do is I want to change my text color to something. Now I'll be
So I
using the
want to
P
try as
tag.
much as possible to carry everybody along today.
As you can see,
Right.
it has the opening and the closing tag.
Let's
If you want to
move
add a
on.
content, I did not say style yet. If you want to add your content, it has to be
So
in
now
between
that
that
we have
first
created
opening
our
tag
document,
and the
right? Now we have
last
created
one,
our
which is the
document.
closing tag.
The next step
Now, in between
we
here,
want to take is to
I want
change
to
the
write
background
a
color.
text that we can see on our browser.
Okay, so we want
My
to change the
wonderful
background color, all right?
website.
So what do we do?
This is my wonderful
We click
website.
on this
Let's see
empty
how it looks. I already told you how you
canvas,
can view
right?
your
You
work
click on
using
it.
Live Server. So now
You see
we'll
color
open
here that
with
is saying
Live Server.
background
Now
color.
look at it. My
See color here that
wonderful
is saying
website
background.
styling. Now I am going to say style equal to. Now when I said equal to, it already gave me the quotes. Automatically, that's what VS Code does. It's really, really nice. Now I want to change the color. Now one thing I want you to note is
So
this.
it's giving peach.
When you want to
color,
change
so
the
you can
color
just
of the
type
text,
peach.
the
So
property you will use is color, just
let
color.
me even try it. So
The normal color, COLOR. That's the property name you will use. But if you
So
want
we
to
have
change the
this.
color of, let's say, background,
This
you have
is
to
too
indicate by
shouty
saying
for me.
background color. That is the property name. You can always research all the properties, all the CSS properties on your own. That is an assignment for you. You can always research that. There
I
are
think
so
this
many
is okay
properties.
for me.
Now, this particular
So
one
now I
I'm
have my
adding is
background
for
color.
changing the color of a text, and it is called the color property. Now, let's do this. I will write color. You can see it's already giving me
I
a
didn't change
suggestion
the color.
of color. Now, as I clicked on it, it gave me this. But don't worry, so I do not get you confused. Once you type your color,
Okay,
you do
you guys
this.
are fast to do.
The colon, and you write whatever thing you want.
I want to know who is the
I
fastest
am picking
today.
red.
I think Azam is
So I
up
am
today.
using color as red. Now let me save it
Alright.
and let's see what it looks
No, I
like.
did not use Instagram post. I used book cover.
My text changed to red. That's wonderful. This is
So
what you
that's
do with
whenever you want to
styling.
design, just
It
search that
gives you
particular
makes
design
your
that you
work
want to
really
make.
beautiful. So
Okay.
we'll go to the next thing we have.
Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So there is this
Yes.
pattern that we want to
Um,
go and get. It's known as
I've already
speckled
taught you the
pattern.
inline CSS
Speckled.
syntax,
So we'll come
which
to
is when you have your
here.
tag. It can be P, it can be
Right.
H1. You inside that first
And
opening tag, you say
then we
style
search
equal to quotes.
for
That CSS property that you want to add. It can be weight, it can be height, it can be width, it can be font size, it can be anything.
Then
I asked you to search for more of the properties, but don't worry, we'll still be doing more.
P-A-T-E-R-N.
Now I
So I'm
use
going to
color
copy
here,
this and send it to
and
the
I
group,
used a value called red.
right?
You have your content
For
you want
those
to
that
display.
did not-
So there are rules to follow. You have to put the CSS property and value inside the double quotes. This is what the quote does. That quote there is where you now put the property
So I
and
set
the
it
value.
to
So this is what you do. You do style equal to quotes. And inside that
Okay, you
quote,
guys
you
are
have your
using
CSS
gradients.
property. Let's say, for instance,
Is that
color.
right?
You have colon, and then you have the value,
I'm going
which
to
is
spell it
pink,
again.
red,
Okay.
blue, whatever
So
thing you want, and you
SP
close it with a semicolon.
E-C KLED.
Let's continue.
Pattern.
We have written our first inline style. Now I want you to write yours. Use any tag of your choice to do that.
So,
And I want the text to be my
here,
favorite color is
you come to
whatever
graphics and open
color you want.
C
If you like
click on
purple,
C
you like red, you use that.
Alright.
Now,
And then
there are
you
common
have
color names
so many
categorized into
of them.
3 groups.
Alright.
You
But
can
what I
get
want
the
to
basic
use
color, you
is
can get the
this- there
neutral
is the
color,
one
you
that
can
is
get
here.
the
It looks like
different
there's nothing
shades.
here. I don't know if it's showing you.
Now, basic colors
Like there's
are
nothing
red,
here.
blue, yellow, green, purple, orange. Neutral colors come as black, white, gray, silver. There are different
What I
shades
want to
like
do,
light
it
blue,
looks a bit
light
invisible.
blue, dark red, pink,
This
teal,
one, so I will click
navy.
on
There are a
this.
whole lot of
And then
colors
it is
out
here.
there,
Let
so
me
you
show
can
you guys.
always make your choice. Now, there's something called
It's looking like that.
text size
Nothing
in
here. If you
CSS.
look at it,
How do you increase
you will see it.
the size of your text?
Alright? Well, you will see
Now, I don't
it
like how my P tag is
more
looking,
clearly
but I want
once
to
I
increase
change
it.
the
How do
color.
I do that?
Okay.
You can use
So for me, I need
pixels.
to scale
Pixel
this
is what you use
how I want
for
it
your
to be.
font size. You can use
Alright, so I
pixel, you can
scale it
use
up like
points,
this.
you can use
Okay.
EM,
So I'm going to change the
you can
color.
use REM. There are so many sizes and that you can use for your
See,
font
it's becoming a little bit-
styling.
I changed it to
For
orange.
increasing the font size
Let me
or
change
reducing
it
the
to like
font
a
size.
darker orange,
But don't worry
so you
about
see the
it.
color
I will still break it down further so that you will understand. Now for this my P tag, I want to
Yeah.
increase the font to something else. Let me show you what it looks like already so that you see that we can do wonders with our CSS. Now look at how it looks right now. But I want it to look bigger because it's looking way too tiny.
Have we got to our pattern?
Now I will go to my P tag. I will close this particular one with a semicolon, which means I am done with this. But because I want to add something else, don't worry. See, I will teach you how
I'm
to
the
add another
first
style here. But
person
before that, so I do not get too confused, I'm
is-
creating another P tag. I told you you can have a
Tiwa.
lot of
So I'm the
tags.
first.
You can have the same tag a whole lot of times. The P now, I am creating it again, and I want to say
Okay.
my
after
website is
Tiwa.
beautiful.
It's true. Okay. We did not give Tiwa her award
Beautiful.
yesterday.
Now I will show you what it looks like right now on our browser, so that when I change the font size, you know that there's a difference. Good, right? So this is what it looks like right now. But I want it to be bigger. I'm talking about this last one. This is the last one
So
I
after
added.
Tiwa, it was Cam, so that was.
I want it to be
second.
bigger. So how do I do that? I will go to that P
Chimnon,
tag.
so it's saying
Just the beginning
that
of the
it's
P
not
tag.
done.
I will add the style attributes like we did before. Style. Remember to do this in small letters. Style equal to
Cheesy, nice one. But then
the quotes.
did you put a
And then we'll
rectangle?
add
in
our
the middle.
property inside. What do we want to add?
I think
The
you put a
font
rectangle in the
size.
middle.
We want to increase our font size. And I want to give it
Okay.
30 pixels. Let me see
Go to
how it will
element.
be.
Chimnos, I think it's your first
Give
time
me
doing
30
this,
pixels.
because I don't think
Okay.
I've seen you
I'll save my work
before,
and then
or
go
it's your
back
first time
to
typing
my
on
browser to
chatbot.
check it out.
So
Now look at
go
how
to
big it's
element.
looking.
So
It was
when
just
you
a
go
normal P tag before that is always tiny, right? Now I have increased the font
Even-
by
I don't know
30.
if
You see, this is beautiful.
camera
These are one of the things, one of the many things you
use that
can
I'm
do
seeing here,
with
or if it's another
CSS.
person.
So we'll go back and we'll continue.
But then I'm going to try and redo this.
Okay, now there is something
I want
called
to
a
keep
font
everybody along.
style. You
I'll
know
delete
this
this.
already in your normal
I said to
typing where
get
you
this,
have
you should come to
italic,
element.
you have the
Element
normal
is
for
at
like
the
bold,
left side bar.
you have the
Okay.
oblique, just
It's at
the
the left side
normal.
bar.
Okay,
Look,
now
after
this
design, the
right
second
here
one
is
you're going to
normal.
see is
It's a regular
element.
straight
So I
up
said you
text
should
that
click
you
on
know.
element
You
and
have the
search for
italic and it is
speckled
slanted
pattern.
or stylish. You
It's
have the
spelled
oblique that is similar to
P,
italic, but a
E,
bit different.
C,
But then it is
K,
rarely used. It is
L,
rarely used.
E,
And we also
V.
have
That's for
Font
speckled. Then
family.
pattern P
Font family
A,
changes the
T,
type of letters
T
you
E
use, like changing
R
your handwriting
N.
style.
Okay.
You get?
So
Font family
you start
changes the
it,
type of
alright,
letters you see.
then you press enter
Like
or use the
the
start icon
Arial,
here.
it comes
You will
simple
see
and clean.
graphics,
There's
photos,
Times New Roman, and it comes
frames.
fancy and
Okay.
traditional. There's
Go
Comic
to
Sans.
graphics.
It
You
looks
see all.
playful and
So
fun.
we are clicking on
There's
this see all
also
so that we
Georgia
see
stylish
so
serif.
many
There are so many font
pattern
families
that
out
we
out
have.
there. It's just like you having,
Okay.
you know, we all have a
Pattern that we
different
have.
handwriting, right?
So
Now
I
there are
said
different
that the one I
handwritings
want to
there for
use
you
is that there
to
is a
use.
second pattern that is
And the
here.
next one is
Well,
we
it
need
looks
to
like
know
that
is the font
invisible.
weight.
It
Font
looks like
weight
button
tells the
is here.
thickness or boldness
Okay. So
of
what
your
do I do? I
text.
just click on
Now
it.
there are common
And then you see
values.
it have appeared
You can use
here.
the normal weight, which is
So
a
it
regular
is
weight
here.
text.
So that
You
I
can
want
use
to
the
resize
bold,
this.
which is
So to
thicker.
resize
Like I'm
it,
telling you this,
see
when you
circles
say
that are at the edge,
font weight as a CSS
Yeah.
property and then you add your colon,
I will
you can
just
decide to
come
say
to one
normal,
of them
or you can
and
decide to
drag
say
it
bold,
like
or you can
this.
decide to say bolder. Or then you can also use numeric values if you do not want to use these letters here.
I will
You
scale
can
it
say
like this.
font weight 100
And then drop
or
it.
font weight
Right.
400
You might think that there is
or
nothing
font
here,
weight
but then actually there is
700 or font
at,
weight
see?
900. A whole lot
like
of
as
things.
if
We
they
have
use
100,
wash
200,
and
300,
just,
down to 900. So now the 900 is
things.
very bold, 700
splashed
bold, 400
things. That's how
normal,
it is.
100 is very thin.
So now I
So we'll
have
continue. I will
Like I
show
said,
you
to
how
make
you
this
add
more
the
visible,
font
right, I
weight.
need to choose a darker color.
Let's go back to
Right? And
our
the color I want to
VS
use is
code.
orange, dark orange color. Because the reason
Now
why
to this
is not
particular
showing,
text I have here,
alright,
you already know that it
not
looks
showing
like
very well,
this.
is
This is how
because
it
our
looks.
background
Now I want to increase
right
the
here
font
is
weight.
already a light background. This is
Okay.
not a dark background. It's
Now,
a light background,
look at what I
alright?
want to
And
do.
then this
I
color
will
too, for the
Just
spectrum
right beside
pattern
the
is
first
also a
style
light
I already
color.
added. I
Right?
want to
And
now
we
add a
in
font
one
weight.
of our classes, then we did color and we said that
Since
two
it's still
bright
here,
colors
everything we are
love
doing
to
is still
go
inside the
together.
quote, which
So
means it's
it's
now giving
light
us the
versus
opportunity
dark.
to add as many
Okay?
styles as you want,
Light versus
as long as you
dark color.
end the
So
first
if
one
your
with a
background is a
semicolon. This
light
colon here
colored
means you are
background,
done
then
with
the
this style,
element
this
that you should
font
use
size.
should be dark
Now we'll
dark
continue by
colors.
adding
Alright?
a font
If your background
weight.
is a dark
Font
background,
hyphen
then you should use
weight.
light colors for your element.
I want the font
okay?
weight
So
to
because
be
this is
now.
a
As I
light
clicked on
colored,
font weight, it gave me options.
pattern,
I
and then
told you
our
about the
background is
numerical
it's not that
values, which
visible.
are 100,
But once I
200,
change
300,
color,
400,
can
down
make
to 900. Or you can also use the
you see,
common
it's
values, which are
becoming more
bold,
visible.
bolder,
But then I want to
lighter.
make
But
this
then I'll be using
more darker.
900 because I want my
Okay.
font weight to
So I'll
be
click
really
this
thick.
open.
Another thing I want to add is a font
See?
family.
So it's
Like
even
I
more
said,
clearer now.
no matter how many styles you want to add in one tag,
You can see
you
it
can
more
do that
and break
inside
it
that
more
same
in
quote.
the other
You
color.
don't need to keep calling style,
Right.
style. As long as you have one
So,
style there
That's for the
already
pattern.
written, that
Okay,
your style
so now we have
attribute
gotten our
already
pattern.
written. You can have as
What is
many
the next
styles
thing
as
for us
possible
to do?
inside.
Since we
So
have
now
gotten the
I
pattern
will
and change the color,
do
it's
this.
for us to
The
add
font
a
weight.
wood floor.
Okay, no, we've already
Right
done the font weight.
What do
I
I
want
mean?
to add
Let me show
a
you
font
guys something. If
family.
you look at this right here, let me increase
This is our font family, and when you click on it, it gives
If
you
look
options.
at this, you see that like
I'll
there
use
is-
this
it looks like a floor,
which one?
right?
I
So
will
we
use
want to add this
the
particular element right here. Okay.
Times
So
New
now
Roman.
we go back to elements.
Now let's see how my text looks.
All right, we go back to elements and we'll clear this particular one that
Can
we
you
have
see
done,
it is really
and then we
bold?
type
Really
Wood
thick. Now the
floor.
weight increased and it has changed.
LOOR. But I'm going to copy this and send it to the group.
I want to try out another one. You can always play around with this. Let me try fantasy. I'll save my work. And then I'll go to this. Now look at how fantasy looks. You see there are so many ways you can style your website with using CSS. Now let's go back to our class. give you a to change the font of your text with
your
font
pattern,
family.
all right?
I want
Whether
you to
reduce
make
it
your
transparency
text bold
or you remove it.
with
Why?
font weight,
This your pattern,
and I want you to make the text italic
once you
with
place the
font
right
style.
font,
Now
this pattern that
you have to
sent
pause
here
this
that you
video right now and do it yourself.
It will not be visible.
But I will continue.
Because it's too
The next thing I want us
much.
to know
Just
is
need
text
a little
decoration.
of it.
Text decoration is another property that you have in the CSS.
Alright,
Text decoration is just like adding
now-
accessories to your text. Now, what do you do with text decoration? You can add, when you write a
You will
text
now
and
start
you want it to have
something
an
that is
underline,
simple.
you do that using
So
text
I'll look
decoration. And if you want to have a line that will cross through your text,
Remember,
you can also do that using text decoration. If you want to remove a line under your link,
so I'll just click on
you can do that using
Yeah,
text
it's
decoration. Now, what do I mean by under a
So
link?
I need to
If you remember
resize
that when we
this.
did the anchor tag,
Okay.
which is the
So
A tag,
I
when we
resize
did that A tag,
Make it
when
big.
you write a text in between the
So
A
it's like
tag,
this, and
you
then
get
I
something
bring it
called when you get
It's
something
small
that looks
for
like a
me.
line, it's actually a line. It comes with the A tag.
Now I have
Now, if you
this.
don't want to see that when you are building your website, you can always remove it using text decoration.
Now I have
Now, I'll
this.
show in real life when you
Let me
write
show you guys
something
also.
and
see
you
the
want to
color
underline, what do? You just
like
rule a line,
here,
right?
that I want to change it to this.
And when you want to just cancel what you
have
did
here.
with just one line, you
Okay.
can also run
So I'll
a
just
line through
click
your
on
text,
my
right? Good.
color
So now let's do that using
palette
our
out.
VS
I'll
Code.
Click on this particular one here.
So now I'll be creating
Okay.
the anchor tag.
So
This is what the anchor tag looks like. Right now, I will not be adding a link yet because I don't need it to link to anywhere for now. I just want you to show. I just want to show you what it looks like when you add a text.
So I'll come to this particular
Now
one,
I am adding a
right?
text. Click
Open it
me.
up.
Let's save and see what it looks like in our
Make it
browser.
lighter a bit.
Now you see the click me has a line underneath that is there. It's there, but it's not permanent because you can use your CSS to get rid of it, you know. So we'll go back to our code. Let me show you how
So
you
this
can
is
get
how
rid
I
of
want
it.
it to be. Which is
Now
because it's
inside
very
our
simple.
anchor tag, inside our
need to-
A tag,
Sorry.
you give a space and do the style
Because of the
thing
color
again,
is okay.
the style that I told you. Now what do? There is an attribute called text decoration. Okay, text decoration comes in different forms. You can either make it dashed, you can make it
I
dotted,
like it like
you can
this.
make
So
it
now I have
double,
this.
you can make it line
So
through,
have we gotten
you
our
can make it none, you can make it overline, you can make it a whole lot of things. Now,
change
since
the
our
color.
line is there
For those
and we
that
don't
want
want
to
the
change the
line,
color.
the text already has a line and we want to remove it. What do you click on? I feel you should click on none, don't you think so? So we'll click on none. We don't want a text decoration. Now let's save and see if our line will still be there. Now you see it is not here anymore. We don't have a line underneath. That is what the text decoration none does. It doesn't give you any line at all. So now I want to add a line to this my website here. My website is beautiful. The P tag, I want to add a line to it. How do I do it? I go to that P tag. Let me just
Okay.
use the first P since it doesn't have much styles in it.
This
So just
composition
besides
is
the
very-
semicolon,
You guys are really
since we've
competing
already
very
added
well.
one style, we close that particular style using a semicolon. Now just right beside it, we are
So I
adding
only have
another
4 people saying they are done.
style, another
That's
attribute,
good.
which is text decoration,
It's done.
text decoration, and we'll say
Okay.
let us line through. Let's see what happens when you say line through. Save your work
All right. So we have
and
gotten our
you go
beautiful-
back to this. Look at what happened. It has a line through. Now look at this. Now let's say you want to cancel your work.
Perfect.
This is what it looks like when you are writing with your pen. So now this is what happens when you line through using the text
Add
decoration
our
property.
plant.
So now that's wonderful. You can always play around with every other
The plant
text
that we-
decoration value out there.
See.
Now let's go back to what we have.
To add there. Okay.
The next thing we have
So,
is
to
text
elements.
alignment. You can always align your text using the
Go back to elements and
alignment
click on
text
it.
align property. If you want your text to move
If
to
you
the
click
left,
on
if you want it to move to
then
the
clear
right,
the
you
first
can
one
do
that
that.
the wood
If you
flower
want it to
research.
move to
So
the
this time
center,
around,
you
because
can
the
also
flower is in
do
the
that.
pot, we are going to search
Now
for
let's see if we have one we
potted
can use, for instance.
plant.
Now I want to know if I can move
like
this my
pot.
text
Potted.
to the
So
center. Let's use the
P-O-T-T-E-T.
text align
Then
property.
plant. I'm still going to
Say
copy
text
this
align center.
and paste it in the chart.
Text align center. Good. Let's see. Let's save our work. And then we'll go to the browser and see. Now our text moved to the center of the page. This is wonderful. You also have text align right, text align left. You can play around with this while we continue with the class. Now there is something called background color. I told you there is a difference between background color
Set of potted
and normal color. You use normal color when you want to add change the color of your
I pasted
text,
it in the chart.
while you use the attribute background color if you want to change the background of your of anything of your
and
content.
then
Now let's look for one to change the background color. Now let's use
this
the
particular one here.
P tag
This one.
still.
So I'll just click on it.
We'll
Okay.
add a
I
background
have
color
it right
of,
here. So I will scale it
let's say, blue.
how I want it to be.
Let's know
then
if
place
this
it
will
somewhere
reflect.
here. Okay.
Can you see
So
what
now I have
happened?
this.
This is the P tag. You know this whole line is for our P
So now I
tag.
have this.
This whole line right here
So I
is for
kept
our
it.
P tag because it has nothing
Okay.
else right
So I
beside
start
it.
looking for the second
The
one.
whole
that I
line
want
is
to
for the
use. So I'll
P tag.
scroll down.
Now that we added a
Down.
background color, it has changed the whole
So the
background
second one
color
here.
surrounding the P
Right, so
tag.
I'll click on it.
That is wonderful. Now we can also
Bring it
do that to
down
this
here.
one, to this particular P tag here. Let's change the background color to yellow. So now you still go to
So now I
this
have
place
this.
and you
I
write
have my two
background
plants ready.
color yellow. Let's see what will happen. You save it. You go to your browser.
So, have you guys
Now you see the P tag here takes up a lot of space. Now because we increase the width of this text, the width of our P tag has increased. Now the background color is looking a lot more bigger than the one here because the text is still small. This is what the background color does for you. Let's go back.
Okay.
The next thing is
If I get
borders.
2 more replies, I will go
I
ahead.
can add a border. A border is just a line,
Right.
a distinct line that surrounds an element. What do I mean by an element? This P tag is
Okay.
an element. I told you the HTML elements are so many, over 100 HTML tags, and every name you have inside are the elements. So you have the paragraph, you have
Nice one.
a whole lot of elements
Nice
in
one, Sarah.
HTML. You
Sarah,
have the
that's what I
headings.
want you to do is
So
place
now let
it
me show
very
you.
well.
Let me add
Okay,
a
make sure the
border
two of them are in the same
to
line.
our text
So our place is very well.
and we
They're not
can
in the same line, so
increase
make sure
the
they're in
width
same line.
by
Okay.
adding a number first. You can
Okay,
make it
so now
solid.
we have gotten
You can give it any
our
form. It can be dotted.
Let's add the
And
illustration.
you can now give it
You know,
a
the
color
family
if you choose
illustration
to.
that
So now
we
let's
saw.
do that.
Let's add it. So we go back
For
to the
this,
elements. Okay.
I will be
That's
using
elements,
this
and
anchor
then
tag here since we've not done much
we'll clear the
to it.
context
So this
plans that we
particular
just
one,
searched.
I will
Alright,
be
and then we
adding
search for
a border.
family. Okay.
I will say
Giving
2px solid. It can be
Kisses
solid. It can be dotted. Just a whole lot.
baby.
2px
baby.
solid. I want the color to be
Alright, so let's search for
pink.
this. Family giving kisses to a baby.
Now let's see what the anchor tag looks like. Now see what it looks like. We've given it a border. We have given our anchor tag a border that has the color of
Really give
pink.
kisses to
Now the next thing I want us to learn is
and we'll come to
border
graphics.
radius.
Open the C.
This property helps add rounded colors to your border.
Okay.
Now, when
So
I
look at
added
the
that
one I
border
want to use
initially,
here.
it came out looking like
It's right
this.
here.
You can
There's another
also
one
make your
here.
border look rounded
Okay.
like this. So the higher the
So
number,
look at the
the
one I
more
want to
rounded
use
the
is
elements will be.
This particular one.
So
I'll just
we'll be
click on
adding
it,
the border radius.
and then it's here. Right? But then I need to
Let's
resize
add a
this,
border
you know.
radius to
I
our
need to like make it
anchor tag.
fit so that it looks
Border
like they are
radius. Border radius. Let's
now I
say
have this.
10 px. Let's see what will happen to the shape we had initially. Can you see how it looks now? It looks bigger. It looks curved. It looks curved now. This is what the border radius does.
So who
I can
is
still change
here
it
with
to
me?
something else. Let's make it 20 px. This is how it's looking when I did the 20 px. So now let's continue.
Okay. Azam. I think Azam is the person that is willing to do.
There is something called padding. The padding property is for adding spaces between
Azam is
content
winning.
and its border. Now the padding happens inside
Okay.
that's your content.
So now we have
Okay?
gotten our
And there's something
illustration,
called
alright?
margin. Margin
We have gotten our
happens
illustration.
outside
Okay.
your border, which is
So, what
outside
is
the
the next
entire
thing that we
content.
need to
You
do?
see this image I have over here?
Let me show you guys
The
something.
padding was done. This is the content, and the
look at
padding was
this
done inside
One here,
the
you see that
content.
there's
The
a
content
cat here.
ends here. This is the border of the
And there's a
content,
cat here. So they have a
This is the
text.
border of
So
our
we need to
content.
add.
and the padding is
Text.
happening
So
right
we go back to
inside,
elements,
while the margin is happening
and we search
outside
for
our
cartoon
margin. Let me outside our
Cartoon.
content. Let me show you how
Cat.
to apply this in your VS Code.
Enter.
So we'll go back to any of our tags. I'll be using the anchor again since we've already added a border to
Pasting
it.
this here.
So here I'll go
Cartoon
to the last semicolon I have and I'll add a margin. I'll say the margin will be let's say 20 pixels. Now let's see what will happen when we save this and check it in our browser.
Nice one. That's so nice.
Now look at this. Our click me is already moving outside of where it was because
Wow,
we've added
Azam.
a margin. This particular
Oh,
margin
yeah.
of 20 px is adding space here, top, left,
I have never
bottom,
seen the
and
cartoon.
right.
The cat I want to
It
use.
is adding 20 px.
Okay.
Towards
So come
around the
down.
corners of the click me,
There.
and then I want it to have a padding.
Search for the
Let me show you what happens when
I scroll
when you
down
add
to
a
the cat
padding.
I
Now
want
you
to
see
use.
that this border and the text
particular cat here.
seem to be so
So I'll just click
close,
on it.
so close to each
Okay.
other. Now I want to add a padding because our
I'll
click
bring
me
it
wants
down
to
like
actually
this.
breathe.
So is that
Now
like
how do
this?
we add a padding?
So you see the cat here. I've added my cat.
Still inside the tag, you say padding. Let's give it 30 pixels.
So I've added my cat here.
Save and see what it actually looks like.
So
Now can you
we
see how
are
big it's
done
looking
adding
now?
our
Because
cat.
we have given it
We
enough
need to
room
add
to
title.
really relax and breathe. Next thing we have to
We need
check
to add
out
the
is
So
the
add the
padding properties.
title.
Now on
Okay.
your own, I
click
want
on
you to
text.
pause this video and check out all the properties we have. and try it out in your Visual Studio Code. Now we have the padding which sets space on all sides.
Oh, somebody.
I already told you that the padding sets space in all sides. Like when I did the click me, I did equal space to all the sides.
Okay,
And
so
padding
now
top only adds padding to the top of the
come
element.
to
I'll
after
show you this
elements,
particular
next is
one
text,
while you
okay?
figure out
So if you click
the
on
rest.
text,
So now let me
you
take
see
out
add
the
a
padding
text
and
box
show
here.
you
This particular
how to
place,
add padding to
add
just
a
the top.
text box. Okay.
Now
So you
I'll
click
take
on
out
it.
this padding here
So you see our text
in my
is right
anchor tag.
here.
I'll take it out
So like I
first,
always say, don't
save
click on
it and show
anything,
you what it
alright?
looks like now.
But if this blue,
This is what it looks like. It's back to being
now you
tiny
can see
again.
my text is
Now I
coming
only
blue.
want to
If
add
yours
padding
has
to
gone
the
out,
top.
click on the text.
How do you do
again.
that? You say
So it's come out. So once
padding
you see this blue
top
color here, it means that you can edit.
and you give it,
okay.
let's say
So what do I need to do? I need to
20px.
type
Save your work,
Lovely.
go back and view it in your browser. Now you only see the space here. It happened
Lovely.
just on the top.
okay.
Now if you want to add it to the left, you change the padding top to padding
So I
left
have
and give
this.
it any size you want.
Okay.
So I will give you,
I have this.
I will advise you pause the video and try
I
out
have this.
all the
Let's say
properties,
lovely.
padding properties
You know,
available.
If you
So
don't
this
like
one
it,
that
it's
is
just looking so,
top,
you know,
right, bottom and left. Look at how you do it. You just write the padding tag, the padding property. You say, you give it like 4 different pixels or 4 different
So we click on
font
this text,
size you are
right?
using. You can
Come
say
to
5
the,
pixel, 10 pixel,
font
15 pixels,
here.
20 pixels.
Then
Now
we
what
click
are you
on
doing? You're
this.
telling it, give 5 pixel to the
Right.
top, give 10 pixel
Click on-
to the
on
right, give 15 pixel to the bottom,
then
and give 20
come here,
pixels
click here,
to the
and then
left.
we'll type-
Because you don't want to have equal padding.
That's good.
So the next thing is margin properties.
So
Now
let's
just
copy this
like
one
how
first.
we
So
have,
the font is
I
already here.
told you about the margin.
So
We
let's
have a
copy
whole lot
it
of
and send
properties,
it to
just like
later.
the padding. You have
S,
the margin, just a margin
I,
property where you add
E,
equal margin
T,
to all the elements
E,
outside.
R.
Then you also have the margin top that adds space to just the top part. You have the same thing as the padding, just the difference is that the margin happens outside the
I've
box
added it.
while the padding happens inside the box.
I've posted
We
it.
also have the
Picture
width and the height.
C,
Width
I,
and height property.
P,
I want to
T,
show you how you add this.
E,
Now this is what
R.
I mean by height. You increase the height of your elements.
So
You
look
can
at it
increase the
here.
width of your elements. Now see
If
this
you have
image
changed
right
it, look
here.
at our
This is
font
where
has
you add your
changed.
margin. How
From
your
what
margin
it was
reflects, it happens outside the elements,
So that
while
means we
the
increase the
padding
font size.
itself happens
Okay,
inside the
this is
elements, and then you
So
have
you click on
your
this,
border.
right? Come to
Now let
font
me
size
add
here.
height
You can
or
either
width
increase
to
it from here
our
or
anchor
decrease it
tag.
from here. Or you just click on it and then type.
Now
Two,
still here, we already have a
six,
lot of styles in just
and-
one anchor tag. So now let me just
font
create
size should be
another
260.
element, another one, so that we will not get too confused. I will use another a H1 and say hello.
Now we have this.
Now what do we want to add here? First, I want to add a border so that we know what we are working with.
We have
Give
this
it
in
a
our
border of 2px solid. Let's make it blue. Let's see what it looks like
Are
first
we-
before we
Are we using
continue.
our font?
Now look at what it looks like. Look at what it looks like. Now I want to increase the height. How do I do that? Let's check. I'll raise the height and I'll give it a height of 20 pixels. Let's see what will happen.
Have we done that? Okay, so now let's change the color.
Now it reduced because
Let's
20
change the
pixels is
color,
actually
okay?
too small for
So
what the
click on it,
container
right?
holds. Let's
the
increase
edge
the
that has
pixels and see what will happen.
light, that's our text color. And then
I want to
we
increase
click
my
on
pixel
it.
height to
Alright.
100.
And I want to change the
Oh,
color
save.
to
and
which
we'll
color
check
shall
out.
we
Now
choose?
look at this. It looks big now. It looks
Let me
really
change this
big. Now I want to make the width 20 pixels. Let's see what it will look like. This is what I mean by the width.
Right.
The width happens this way while the height happens this way. So now let's see what will happen if we decide to make the width 20 pixels.
Remember, you can choose your own color.
20 pixels, save, and then we'll check it out in our browser. Now look at the width has shrinked because 20 pixels is too small for it, so we'll have to increase it to, let's say, 70 pixels. We are just playing around with it. Increase it to 70 pixels.
So now I have this. So
now look at what happened. The width is now,
it's lovely family.
Perfect.
Okay.
If I want to increase it further, I still
Lovely
can.
family.
Now let me increase it and align our text to the center. I will increase the width
to start going to test again. Getting the
120. And then I will still give it another style. Text align.
You just click on this particular one.
Center.
Cannot duplicate by pressing Ctrl D, or you come up.
We'll save our work and see what it really looks like.
Click on it. All right.
I have increased it, and our text is now aligned to the center within the border. Can you see? That's wonderful. So we'll continue.
Okay. If you have this, then you click on your text. Click on the second one.
Now, like I said initially, there is multiple styles.
Once it's like this,
you can add multiple properties like we have been doing all along. Just make sure you separate them using a semicolon. Once you are done with one style, like this one, you just have one style opening, and everything is happening inside the quotes of that style. Just one style opening contains so many styles. So now we have the color here, and it has ended here because it has ended because you are seeing here that it already has a semicolon. That means it's done. This one, font size 40 pixels, ended with a semicolon. You have another one, text align, which ended with a semicolon. That's wonderful. Now we'll continue. Now we've gotten to styling our table with CSS. We worked on a table before, right? Yes. So now it's time to style it using our CSS.
This is perfect for me.
There's something called the border collapse. If I recall vividly, I'm sure that there was a table we created that had a whole lot of boxes inside. I'll create another one quickly to show you what I mean. Now for me to do that, I'm also adding a table inside the file we are in, because it's actually possible to add a table anywhere. You don't need to create a separate file for you to do that. Now I'm adding a table here. I'll be adding the row and I'll be adding the data inside. First name, another one, second name, another one, age.
So now
now this is our first row. I'll create another row to make it two rows.
The most.
Now we'll do this. Maybe that would be Jenny.
The most precious treasure. Okay, so we need to.
Another one.
All right.
That will be
test.
Then another one that will be the age of Jenny, which is 13. So now let's see what it looks like.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be no line right now.
Got to duplicate here.
Now see what it looks like.
Okay.
See what it looks like. Now I want to add a border. The first time we did this, the previous class, we added a border inside the table head. It comes with HTML by default. This is not the CSS style because I've not added any CSS. A style property here, a style attribute. And when you make the border of the table to be one, it gives you something like this.
Alright. So we
Let's
have
see.
this. Well,
It gives
know
you
that
something like this that has
right
a whole
here
lot of
is
boxes, right?
too big.
That's perfect still.
So we need
But then
to
I don't want
remove
you to
the
have
front.
lines
Okay.
separating it. I want everything to
just
join together
come
and look
here,
like a proper table as it should.
minus that is
So
the
now I'll be
front
going
side, so
to the HTML, and what will I do? I will style it myself.
Remember, there is an easier way to do this.
So
And let's come
personally,
here
I
and
do
then
not want
decrease
to
this
add
like
the
this.
border for everything. I want to style it
Make
myself
like this.
using the style
As
property,
if I don't want to come and start
Style.
going through the stress of
and then I'll say
reducing
border
it from here.
1px
I don't want to do that. I
Solid.
can just come here and just reduce
And
it
black.
here.
Let's see what will appear when we.
Okay.
Now it has given me a line, just one line, covering
So,
the entire table.
Now,
But I want
to
each
reduce
of these
this and
tags to have its
because
own
it was
border. So
touching
what do? We go to the table
I
row.
don't want it to be
We
like
add
that.
a style again,
And I need to
our
bring
style
this
attributes,
down a little.
and then we add the border 1px solid
So it's like this.
black. We'll also add it here, style 1px style border 1px solid
So now we have
black.
this. So you see, our design, our storybook cover is coming up together.
Now let's see what it looks
Okay.
like.
So have we gotten to this extent? So I will
Let's
actually
add
move on
this
the
to
next
our
part.
data itself. This is meant to do the same thing as this. So instead of adding it to our table row, we'll be adding it to the data instead. Now let's just copy this, paste it here, paste it here, paste it here.
Isabella, nice one.
We'll do the same thing for this.
Isabella, I want you to make sure that your title, that lovely family, make sure it's in the middle.
Same thing for this. We'll save and see.
Nice one. But reduce the, the most treasured.
Now it's looking like when we
precious
just made the
treasure.
border
Reduce it a
equal
bit.
to 1.
It's too big.
This is what I wanted to achieve. So now, if you do not want to see these lines and you want
So
these double lines here to merge, first of all, for us to see that, I want to increase the width so that
now,
we'll
the
see
last
what
thing
our
we need for us
table
to do
looks like,
for
because
this
it's looking
front
too
book
small
cover, right?
already.
It's for us
I'll
to
be giving it
add
a width
the
of,
author's name.
let's say, 80
So for the
or
author's name, I'm going to duplicate the
70%.
family itself. This family here.
Let's see,
I'll just
save
click
your
on
work
it.
and check it
Alright.
out.
And
Now the
then
width is
what
bigger
we
now,
duplicate
so that we'll see what
family
we
this
are
time around,
working
because we
with.
want to use the same color for it. So click on duplicate.
I want to add a background color
Take it
to our
off
table.
here.
How do I do that?
Then click
You
on
write the
it
background
again so that the
color
blue color
property.
pops out. Alright.
And you give it, let's
And
say,
then I type
yellow.
this time around. I want to type your name. Don't type my name.
So now this will change the color of the entire table. Can you see? The whole thing is now yellow in color. This is now the background color. So I want my
So now,
table
type my name.
to
but
not
then
have
it's too big.
the double lines
So
you are
I
seeing
need
here. I
to
want
reduce the
everything to
font
mesh
size.
together as one
I'll
straight
come here,
line.
the minus
How do you do that?
sign.
You go to your table
And then I'll
tab.
just click on it.
There is a property
And hold
called
it down. So it's minus.
border collapse, and you set it as, it's possible to make it separate and it's possible to make it collapse. Now when you say collapse, what does it do? It merges all the lines together. Now let's save and see what it looks like. Now can you see this is better for me? The lines are not double anymore. I merged it together using the attributes, using the property
So mine
called
is in 60.
border collapse.
I don't know
So we'll continue.
what font size yours is in. But mine is in 60.
We can also decide to style our text.
And just like
The
that,
text,
we
that means
have
our data
made
inside our cell. We
the
can decide to
front
change the
cover.
color. We can decide to change the
I've
font.
made the front
Just like the
cover.
one I have here. Can you see the star was added inside the TD, which is the table data? It was aligned to the center, and the font weight was increased. It was changed to bold. The color was changed to red, and it was giving a border of gray. You can style each one.
Nice
That
one,
is what
actually.
CSS does for you. Now I'll be going to
Yeah.
one of the table data, and I will be styling it so that you know what it does. Now for this particular one, I will change the
this person's name by
font
saying that
size
over. But then
to,
I like it.
let's say, 20
The
pixels.
color combination is so fine. The same
I want
thing
to
with
change the color of the text. So what
so
property
cool.
do you use for that? You use the color property.
nice one. Like you guys
I
are
will change the
doing well.
text to
I even
white.
chose your own pet.
Let's
Okay.
let's use white.
I want to use my own.
I'll save my work, and no, before
Everybody
that, I
else
want to
uses their
also
own.
align it to the
Is that
center.
right?
Let's save it, and we'll go back to our browser and check it out. Now see the first one I did the styling, the first table data changed to white. It is now aligned to the center. So this is how you can always play around with your table data or anything you have in your table at all. We can also decide to change the color of that particular table data. I'll be changing the color now. The background color, I will make it red. The background color is now red. Let's save and see if it will work. Now this is it. So this is how you can play around with the styling. You can do a whole lot of things with CSS. So I want you to create something like this for me. I want you to recreate that. I'm sure it will not be too hard for you to do. These are just four rows,
Okay.
3 columns. It has
Nice
a
one,
T head,
Damso.
which was used to
Guys, I want you
style
to
the
reduce your
breakfast,
name
the
a
lunch,
bit.
and the
Okay.
dinner.
Reduce your name a bit,
Then you
and then
put
this
everything
please be
exactly
in this
as you
house.
see
Bring
it
it
on
down
my
a
screen.
bit.
You make sure you
Small.
pause this and
Then
do the same
reduce the
thing.
most
And
precious
then
treasure. Reduce it small. Please be in this house.
I
want
want
guess
to
that is
show
the name
you
of
how you
your
can style an
novel, right?
image.
So
That will be
that
the
should
last
be
thing. I'll be
biggest,
showing
right?
you
So reduce
how
other
to do
ones.
using
Reduce
the
your
VS
name as
Code.
the author. That should even
Now
be the
I will get
smallest.
an image
Then you reduce the
by
most precious treasure.
putting
design is
the,
fine.
now I'm going
Set
outside
aside
of the
from
table.
ours.
I want to add my
Nice
image
one.
here because I am done with the table. I'm sure
And
we
I
are
like the
also
way
done.
you guys are
Now
combining
I'll be
font
going
with
to, I'll be
colours.
adding an image
That
tag
means that I thought
because
you guys
I want
will
to
in
add an
colours because
image.
your colours that are using
I
is so
also
fine.
have an image
They are
already
matching
saved
together.
here. I will use that, which is the cheerful cartoon bunny.
Is that a nice
Now
one
let's
too?
view
I
what
like
it
the
looks
way
like
you
in our
used
browser right now. It's looking
those
way too
pants
big,
that has outline.
way too big.
Made your
Now I
design
want
fine.
to do this. I want to reduce the width.
This
How do I
one
do
have I
that?
not
You
seen?
add the style,
Isabella,
the
your
style
design is fine.
attributes, and then
Color,
you
like-
do the width.
Love the way you guys choose color.
Make it 50 pixels.
Now pros I have in this class.
Save and you see what it will look like. Let's see
You
what it will
don't know
look
what?
like.
Okay.
Now look at how
nice.
tiny our image is.
Nice one.
So you
The
can
reason
do
I
a
want you
whole
to do
lot
for
of
me, Oluwa, is
things
make
with
sure that
your
your lovely family,
styling, with
right?
your
Make sure your right top is in the
CSS.
middle.
You can
Put
always
that
play
lovely
around
family
with
in the
it.
middle.
You can also increase the width to be the full screen size, anything you want to do. So the last thing is our CSS colors. You have what you call the hex code. You have the RGB values. You have the RGB in red. You can do the hash
And I like the floor.
FF
There's a way that your floor looks like.
0000, and it gives you
There's a way your floor
the red
looks like,
color.
and it's
If you don't
so
want to
nice.
just go and then
Like
write
your floor.
red, you can always use a hex code. It's a short for hexadecimal,
All right.
and it's a 6-digit code that
Now that
starts
we are
with
done with the
a
front
hash.
one,
It uses numbers
Okay.
from 0 to 9 and letters from A to F to show how much
I think the
red
person
green,
I don't
and
understand.
blue
Why are you
a
saying
color has. So they merge these numbers
the person
and
that
form
corrected
a
it?
whole lot of
No, I didn't
colors.
correct you.
So
I
these
didn't
are ways
correct
you
you.
can add colors to your website. You can use the RGB, and RGB stands for red,
I
green,
like this
and
dog.
blue. You tell the
Daniel, I
computer
like this
how
dog.
much red, green, and blue
Like
to
this
mix,
here.
and you do that
Okay,
using
Daniel, look at
numbers
what I
from
want you to
0
do
to
for me.
255.
Okay, so
There's
that your
also
name,
one
right?
other
See how our own
code
is.
called
Take it up a bit.
RGBA,
Then
and it is
increase
like
your lovely
RGB,
family.
but it
Increase the
has an
font
extra
size.
A, which
I want it to
stands
be
for
bold,
alpha,
right?
and
So
it
the most
controls your
precious
opacity.
treasure,
That is how you
decrease
see
it a
through the
bit,
color. If you don't want it to be
right?
too bright,
Then
you
your
make the
design
A
should
something
be good.
like
So just
0.0.
your name, take it up a bit.
It
Then
will
the
be
lovely
fully
family,
transparent.
make
And
it
if you
big,
make your
and then
your
reduce
A
the most precious
0.2,
treasure.
let's say this is a full color of red here. If you make the last A 1.0, it gives you the full color. If you make it 0.8, it
Wow,
reduces
nice
it a
one.
bit. You make it 0.6, it reduces the color a bit. You make it 0.4, it keeps going this way until you get 0.0, which is transparent. So it depends on how you want your color to be. If you don't want it to be too bright, if you want it lighter, that is what the last A in the RGB does for you. So there are limitations in CSS.
Sorry.
There are reasons why
I'm
people
not
don't use it
please.
often,
Please, can you remind me
because
your
you
name
get
so
to
that
repeat a
I'm
whole
not
lot of
calling
styling
you?
in just one
No, your
element,
design
and
also
that's
is fine.
somehow
And I
wrong,
like the
because
fact
at
that
a
you
point you
put
get
your
confused
own
and your
name
code will get too long.
down. Okay, I like the fact
So
that you put your own name down.
in case you
It's
have
so
issues
nice.
in your styling,
Okay.
there are common
Maybe I
problems
used
you
to
get in
mistake you for
CSS,
someone.
and one of it is
Alright, I used
syntax
to mistake you for
errors.
someone.
Now, if the style is
Sorry,
not
I will not
applying or
forget
working,
again.
you have to
I
check
promise.
your CSS code properly. And make sure you're not missing a semicolon between
She
the
even
properties,
put
because it
two
can cause
pets.
errors.
I guess you love pets a
And make
lot.
sure you use a double quote and you have your style, your property
Samsung is
inside
sending
the
this, but
double
let's look at
quotes.
it. Then we'll
Now, this is
start
your assignment. I
our
want you to
back
create
page.
a HTML file in VS Code.
Okay,
Write
I've
a
seen
heading
Samsung's
for the
own now.
page.
I believe two
Create
pages.
two lists. One will be an ordered list, and the other will be an
He
unordered
modified
list.
it. All
The
right,
first list will
this is
have your
okay.
favorite food, and the
This is
other one will
okay.
have your top 5 hobbies or fun things you do. Now, you
All
use
right.
inline styling for this. Change the bullets or
Wow.
number style to something else. You add font colors as well.
Merry
Then you
Christmas.
style the individual list
wait.
items. Example,
this
you
something
add a color to one
entirely from
TV,
what
add
we
another
did.
color to another TV. So that is what you
The
will do
most
for me.
special time of the year.
So in our next
Oh.
class, we will fully
Even
understand
put
what
fun.
is internal and
Yay.
external CSS, which are
Friendship.
other ways in which you can style
This is
your
fine.
web page. Bye!
But then this is now.
Hi guys,
Is this gift?
welcome back to today's
What you did
class.
now, is
Right,
it
I remain your
a
tutor Bless
novel or you
Namarachi.
just did a flyer?
So today
this is
we'll be
a
talking
flyer,
about
then
designing posters
not
and
what
flyers. Right, so
you're
today is all about
do.
posters and flyers, right?
Okay. Those
So,
are like raising your hands.
moving
up, like,
on,
is it that you
right?
want to ask questions or what?
This is the goal for the day. So for today we have to understand what makes
How I
a
did
poster
my
or flyer
lovely
effective,
family.
learn how to balance
said you
text
should go
and
to
visuals, practice creating a flyer for a school event.
Oh, yeah,
You
click
know,
on
I
text,
told you
okay.
guys that
Add
in
the text
designing,
box.
you don't
Yeah.
just design, right? You don't
Right,
just
so
start
text
designing.
boxes
There are
here. Then type
rules
lovely.
that guide these designs, right? Like we talked about in our first class,
Lovely,
where we
okay.
treated some of
So
the
now I
principles
have
of
this
designs.
right here.
So
Right, so the
now,
next thing I want to do is to scale
what
this.
is the
make
meaning
it
of
big.
poster? What
So
is
to make
poster,
it big,
right?
I
You keep
click
on
on
hearing
the text,
poster,
okay.
flyer. What is
I just
poster?
come here.
So a
click
poster
on
is
it
a
once,
visual
display
display
says
that
font
communicates
size.
information,
Click on
promotes
it
an event
once
or
and put
product, or
263.
conveys a message. So posters actually, let me show you guys
You
one.
see, it's now
So
big.
this is basically a
Then
poster,
change the
right?
font.
Like I
My
explained
own
in
font
our
is already
first class, I
changed,
say
right?
that
So
once you
change
look
the
at
font
this
to a
flyer
font
right
known as
here,
Scripter.
it tells you a message.
This font that
What
I'm seeing
message
here.
is this poster trying
Okay,
to
if you change the font to
tell us? It
Scripter,
tells us there is a kids coding
then
fest
you
coming
come
up,
to
right?
color here,
And
same
then it
text
tells us the
color.
date,
You
it tells
click
us
on it,
how we can
and you
register
choose
and
the
where we
color
can
that
register.
you want
It
to
tells us the
use for it.
requirements, that we need, right?
That's how.
And
we got
so
it.
many more.
All right. So let's
Do you
not waste time.
understand? So a
Okay,
poster,
let's
when you're designing a
start
flyer or a poster,
the
you should be able
second
to
one,
convey
which is the back
message,
cover.
right?
So this
When
one is
people
going to
read
be
it
very
or
easy.
sees your poster, they should be able to get the
It's going to be very
information
easy to
that you
achieve.
want to pass
All right.
through,
So to do
right?
that,
So
you come
now,
here. Look at this
where
particular
are
place here.
posters used? Where can we see these
This icon
posters?
here that has a
So
plus
posters
sign.
are
I
used
know that
to
this one also
announce
has the
events
plus
like
sign,
a sports
but I
day,
want this.
right? So
you
if you
click
look
on
at our
duplicate
screen right
page,
here, we have
it will do
a
exactly the
flyer
same thing.
that's talking about
Alright.
sports weeks, right?
And that is not
So
what
if you
we
look
want.
at the
We
sports
just
week
want
flyer
to,
here, there is a
add
date
a
right here. It
page,
has a date,
not to duplicate
right?
page.
Just like we have
Okay,
here.
click on the
You know,
one in
one
the
of the
middle.
rules: help each other, be on
So we
time,
click on it.
paper in the bin, share your stuff,
Okay.
listen carefully,
Have you clicked
line
on it?
up, raise up your hand to talk. So,
So,
right, these are
if you have
class
clicked on it,
rules, and
We would want to
this
delete
was
some
designed,
things
right?
here.
So this is
So
one
instead
of
of
the
us
things
to,
that we use
start
posters
afresh
to
and
do,
start adding
right?
this.
So the
same
next thing
elements
that we
we
use
need.
posters to do is to advertise
Let's look at the
something.
ones that we need.
You understand? So we use posters to advertise
So we
something like a
basically
new
need
movie
the
or a
write-up.
concert,
That's the
you
title,
know,
Loving
or
the
maybe
Family,
a new
Precious
product
Treasure.
is coming.
Okay, we
Just
need
use
it, and
posters
then
for
what else do we
advertisement.
need?
Just like we have our screen right
And then we
here, we
need the
have a poster
pattern
that is advertising
And the
the Lion
background color
King
that we
2
added. Okay,
that is coming in.
so
Do you understand?
what we
So
need to do, this is the
now,
second page that we duplicated.
where else can we
alright?
see?
If you have
Okay.
duplicated your page.
So posters have been
Then
around
what we are going
since
to do is come
the
to this
80s,
family.
right?
You know the family we
And then
added.
can
Click
you
on
guess
it.
what it actually looks like?
Okay.
What posters
If you click on
in the
it,
80s looks like? So now let's
press
look at
delete.
it and know if there is much difference
To
or
remove
if there
it.
is a difference between the posters that was made
Do you guys
in
understand?
the 80s and posters that are being made now.
Do you guys understand what I did now?
Look at a poster that was made in the 80s and look at a poster that was made this year, right? So now, if you look at this poster, right, you can see that the one of the 80s is not that clear. It's not that clear, right? The write-ups here are not that clear, like it's not sharp if you are looking at it. But then if you look at this one right here, it's very clear. It's very catchy. Like if you are passing and like you see this poster right here, this Mohana poster right here, posted on the wall or showing on the billboard, we want to look at it and look at it again because it is very fine. It's catchy. The colors used are
Okay.
sharp.
Let me
Like
start
it's just so
again.
fine. But then if you look at the poster here, it's even difficult for you to even read what is written here.
Let me just-
If you look at the posters here,
So
it's
this
even
is our
difficult for you
front
to
page
read what
we just
is
designed,
written. Like you
alright?
need to zoom
If you
for
come
you
up
to be
here, you're
able
going to
to
see three
get
different
what is
icons.
written here. Do you
Alright, this one
understand?
say log
So now,
page.
if you look
This
at
one
these two
say
posters, you see that there is
duplicate
a
page. This one say
lot
add page.
difference,
Alright, we want to
right,
use the one in
between
the
the
middle,
posters
which
made
says
in the
duplicate
80s and the posters
page.
made now.
Okay.
Do you
I want to
understand?
duplicate this
So,
page.
moving on, now that
Alright,
we
so
have
to do
known
that,
what a
you
poster
come,
is and what it's
click on
used
the
for,
duplicate
let's
page,
learn how to
and you see
arrange
that it-
parts of a poster
added
properly.
another
Because
page
I told you guys
that's
that
the same
design, there are
that we did.
rules that guide these designs. You don't just
Okay.
start designing
Why did we duplicate this
things,
page?
right? There are
Because there are
rules you are
some
meant to
elements
follow.
in this
So,
page that
now,
we need.
Let's look at understanding
there are some
layout
elements
and
here
composition.
That we need.
You understand?
instead
That's
of
the
us to,
main thing
start
for
getting
today,
them
understanding
afresh,
layout and composition.
we just
You
delete the
understand?
ones that we don't
So
need.
now, what is
and
layout
then
in
leave the
design?
ones that
Layout
we
is how
need.
you arrange everything on your poster
So what I'm going
or
to do
flyer.
now is to just
The
come
pictures,
to
text, color, and
this
shapes.
family
Think of it
image.
like setting up a
Alright.
room
I will
where
make
the
sure that I
sofa
click
goes,
on it.
where the table goes.
Okay.
It is
You
all
can
about
delete it from this
placement.
icon.
So
Once you click
layout
on
is
it,
all
you
about
see
placement.
four
How you
different
place
icons
the
here.
elements that you are
Right.
using to design.
The fourth one
Do you
is
understand?
saying
Like the
delete.
example we gave here, think about it as if
delete
you're setting
icon.
a room. Do you understand? Let me say in your
can
parlor
click on
now,
it
it's a
to
new
delete
parlor and
it.
you bought new
Or
chairs,
once
you
you
bought
click
new
on the
tables,
image,
new
okay,
curtains.
you just press
You know that
delete
there are
on the
places
keyboard.
where all these things are meant
and
to
it will
be.
just remove
You
it.
understand? You can't just go and keep a chair where people
Okay.
are passing,
So now we have
like
removed
in front of the door.
the family.
No,
Let's
it will not be
remove the
nice. You
cat.
can't just keep the table anywhere
Okay,
you
so
want,
we're going to
right?
remove the
So there are
cat.
positions
So we come
where
to
you
the
need to
cat
keep
here.
all these things. There are
So
positions
delete
where all
it
these things
also.
need to be. So that is what
Okay.
layout means. So
Then
layout is all
come
about
to the
placement,
plant.
right? So you don't just place
Click
your
on the, make
elements
sure you click on it, because if
anywhere
you
you
don't click on
want,
it, it will not
right?
delete.
There are places where it's
So
supposed
you
to
come to
be,
the
and there are
plant,
places where it's
then
not
we
supposed to
delete
be.
it also.
Do you guys understand?
The second
So
plant,
now,
click
moving
on
on.
it,
Okay, example
delete it also.
is the title at the
Okay.
top, right?
So
Is the
now,
image in the
want to
middle.
delete
So if you look at the flyer that we have
name.
here right now,
Here, the author.
look, this has a
Name of the
center
author here. Want to delete
layout.
So we
Do you
click
understand?
on it.
If you look at
Okay.
the
Then we delete
right
it.
up, right, the title, which is Children's Day
Alright,
Party, is
so
at the
it's time
top,
for us to
and then the
remove
image
wooden
is at the
floor.
middle, is in the middle.
The wood floor.
Do you understand?
So
So
we
you
click
see,
on the
it
wood
was not
floor,
just
then
placed
we delete
anywhere.
it. So
That
now we
is
just have this.
how it was placed. Everything
Just
was
have
placed
the
here in the center.
background,
If
and
you look
then
at the side
SAK
attractions,
Obi family.
right,
This is what we have now.
the games
So
that
are
we
we
played
here?
on that day, and the place, right, the location and everything was placed in the center. If you look at this flyer very well, do you understand? That tells you that the person did not just come and put the Children's Day here, around here, and then come and put the picture around here, and then come and put this one, the information around here, and then this one around here. No, the person placed everything in order where it should be. Do you understand? So now, moving on,
What
where
is so confusing
why
about
is this
one
layout
that I don't
important?
understand?
Why is layout important? Right? So a good layout makes your posture easy to read. So that is one of the importance of layouts, right? It
Okay,
makes
let me do
your
it
poster
again for
easy
the
to read,
third time.
right? It makes it nice to look at.
Oh, this is not.
You know, so when somebody look at your
So, I'm going
poster,
to
the person will be
delete
like, "Oh,
this.
this is nice," and then the person can easily read
Please, you
it,
guys should
right?
listen very
Clear
well.
message. Do you
I said that
understand?
if
It
you
gives a
come-
clear message
see
that the
our-
poster is
our
trying
design
to
now, the
do
front
what
page that we
convey.
just did.
So a messy layout can confuse people or make them ignore your
If you
design.
come on top, you will see
Example.
three different.
Let's look at this
icons
example
here.
right here. So now we have
This
a
one is
bad
saying
layout
log
here and a
page.
good layout here, right?
This one
So
is
look at
saying
this. If you see
duplicate
this
page.
poster, will you
This
want
one
to
is
read
saying
this?
add page.
Obviously, no, you don't. It doesn't send a
Then you
message
add
to
another
anybody.
thing. Is that say the first page?
But then
is
if you
page
look at
one.
this one,
so once we click,
it's very
on that,
easy to read,
duplicate
and it
page,
sends a
we now
clear
have another
message.
page like saying
Looking at this
page
poster, I'm like, oh, digital
So we
education
have
summit.
the same design.
All right, so this file is talking about digital education summit.
Come down.
So what is digital
to the
education
second
summit?
one.
Learn how to navigate the
And we
JAM
want to use
CBT interface
second one
efficiently. You'll be
to
like, okay, so
achieve
it has something to do with
this
CBT.
back cover.
Do you understand?
You know, in our
But
design,
then,
it said
if you
that
look
we
at
have
this now, you see that
we have
everything
the
was
front cover
placed
and the
properly.
back cover, just like in our book. We
Do you
have
understand?
front
The write-up
back.
was placed
So we
here,
want to
the
make the
image
back
is
cover
placed
now.
here, everything
This
was
is the front
placed
that we made.
neatly.
And we duplicated the page, and then
They did
this
not
is the
just place
back
it
cover.
anyhow, unlike this
If you
flyer
look
that
at
we
this
have
back
here.
cover here,
Do you understand?
you see
So this
that there are
is
some
basically
things here
what
that we
layout
need
and
here.
why it is important. Looking at this,
Instead
it
of
is
us
very
to
easy
start,
for me to read.
getting the same elements
Just looking
that
at
we got
this,
here
I
and
can read
adding
it
them
easily.
here.
But then
Why
looking at
not
this
we just
poster, I
duplicate
can't.
the page?
I don't
and
even
then
know where to
delete
start.
the things added, and then
Right?
do
You know, in the last time
background
we talked about typographical hierarchy.
You see?
Do you understand? But then
So,
today we are talking about hierarchy
now we
in
are going
general.
to delete
So hierarchy ensures that
page
the most
2, which is
important
the page that we
information
just
grabs
duplicated.
attention
We're
first.
going to delete
Example,
the things
headings,
that we
subheadings.
don't need.
Do you understand? So in hierarchy, right, the
So I now
most
said
important information that
that
we
we
want to
should come
pass
to the
through,
family that we
right,
just
should
added,
be
this family.
what people see first immediately they look
particular
at your
image
flyer
right
or your
here.
poster.
And I said,
Example.
you should come there, click
Now we
on
have this
it,
flyer
make sure
here.
you click
So
on
if
it,
I look at
click
this
on
flyer
it.
here, right here, the first thing that I see is school
Once you click
admission.
on it, you will see this icon on
That
top.
is hierarchy. That is
This
what
one is saying
hierarchy
comments,
is all
this one
about.
is saying
So the
log,
most
this one
important
is saying
information in this flyer
duplicate,
is
this one is saying
it wants to
delete.
tell us
You know, the place
is
we
that
used to duplicate
the
our
school
this thing
admission
out.
is ongoing.
Well, now, once you delete it, so
Do you
once
understand?
you
So
want
that's
to
why
delete
when
it,
I look at it, the first
so
thing
we
that
click
I
on
see
delete,
is school
and then we have
admission.
removed it.
Do you
We have
understand?
deleted
That
it.
is the most important information. That is
Remember, we are
hierarchy.
not doing this thing in
So the next one here is
first
open
one.
for registration
The first
now.
one is still
So
here.
in hierarchy,
We
or when you are
duplicated the page, so
designing,
it's
right,
this second one,
the
once
most
you can do
important
the back cover.
information, right, should be what people
So now we
see
have
first
deleted the family.
when they look at your design. So if I
This
make
cat
this smaller,
also, because
right,
I
if I
don't
just
need
go and
it
make
to
this
back
small and then maybe come
So I
here and
click
just
on
pick
the
this
card.
call us and put it
Okay.
right here and make it
See
big.
the delete
Obviously, when
icon
people look
here,
at this
or
flyer,
you
what they will
press
see is
delete
call
on
us
your keyboard.
from,
Then I delete it.
not the admission. So now, is it passing the
Same thing I will do
information
for
that
the
the flyer
plant.
is supposed
Click
to?
on the
No,
plant,
it's not.
come
Do you
here
understand?
and delete
For
it.
hierarchy. So
The same
now,
thing for the
moving on,
second
we have the
plant.
one
Click
for
on the
balance.
second plant,
So balance
come
keep things
here
so that
and
your
delete
design
it.
doesn't feel messy.
The same thing for
Do you
the wood
understand?
floor.
So in
because I don't
design,
need the
you
wood
balance
floor.
the
So I will click on
elements.
it and then I will
You
also
get?
delete it.
You don't just put it
So I
anywhere
will come here also.
or anyhow.
Click on
Like
the
here now,
author.
that we have this illustration,
Click
you
on the
see,
author
it's giving
and delete
space,
it.
right? So
So
it
now
is
I
balanced very
have
well.
this.
Started, they are
Now I
the same
have
height,
this
the
here.
same shape, and everything. But then, if you look at this one, look at
So
where this
are
one
we here
started, and
now?
look at where this one is being placed. So there is no balance in this design. Do you understand? Now let's look at a flyer and see. So now look at this flyer now. This flyer is balanced. Look, all these ones now are in this row, and then the pictures are in this row. Everything here started in the same line. Do you understand? The same thing with this one. So everything here is balanced. They didn't just put this admission here and then started this the best guideline for your kids. They didn't put it here or put this one here. Everything was arranged very well. Everything was balanced very well, so that when people see it, it is easy for them to
Okay.
read, right?
So now
So
I want
now
us
that's
to
all for
add
balance. It's
right
alignment.
here at the
So
down
alignment
part, just
ensures
like
that
we
the
have
text, image,
on
and
the
other
picture,
elements are lined
like
up
we have
neatly
here.
so that the
I
design
want us
looks
to add a
clean and
rectangle
professional.
here.
Do you
Okay.
understand? So alignment
So
is kind of similar
how
to
are we going to
balance
achieve that?
also. So in
So
alignment,
go
make sure
to
you align
tools,
everything very well,
tools here.
right? So that
Go
it
to
doesn't
tools
look
at the left
messy.
sidebar.
So that
Click on
it's neat.
tools.
It's neat. Like look
Okay.
at this one right
Then
here. The
click on
title
shapes,
and the subheading, everything
rectangle.
is aligned very well.
Click on the first
Everything
one
is
here.
placed very
So
well.
now we have our
Do you
shape
understand?
here.
Now let's look at
Okay,
look
we
at
have
an
our
image.
shape
So
here.
look now.
So now we need to work on
This
this
here
shape.
now
We need
it
to
has what we
resize
call
it.
center alignment.
Okay. So we
Everything is
resize
being,
it.
if you look
So
at
now
this
we
very
have
well,
this.
everything is being placed
Have a
in the
rectangle.
center. So for this
Well, then we need to bring
flyer
this
here, it has center
down
alignment.
here.
There's an alignment for it.
So now
Do
we
you
have
understand? They didn't
this.
just scatter everything everywhere.
But then I
So
want
you
us
see
to
that all these
change the
flyers you are
color.
seeing,
I want us to have the
they are
I want
all
us to have the
following the
color
rules.
of the lovely
You get. So the
text.
next one
Want
which
the
we'll be
one
looking
for
at, the
family.
next key element we'll be looking at is what we
Okay.
call white
So we
space,
click on the rectangle.
or you call it negative space. So white space,
Then
also
we
called
come
negative
to
space,
color.
is the
Click on color.
empty space around your element. It helps your
Okay.
design
And then
breathe
so the color
and
for
makes it less
this
crowded.
particular one. I'll
So
just click
white
on the
space,
color,
as it's called,
and
you can,
then
if
it has changed.
you don't understand it by white space that you leave.
So now we
Do you
have
understand?
this.
If you look at the illustration that we have here, you see that at least after this
But
one,
then for me, the color is not looking too
line, there is
shouty.
space.
So I want to
Do you
make
understand?
it
Everything was not jam
darken
packed.
it a bit.
Do you understand? If you
Now
look at
open
this
this
one,
color
you
and
see
then
this one is even touching the circle.
Darken it like this.
You get
Now I have
everything
this.
is just so
So
jam
have we
packed,
all
looking
gotten
so
our
messy.
rectangle? Do we
Now
all
let's
have
look
this?
at this image right here. So if you look at this image, you see that it has space. At least after the school admission, there is space before this box that contains the futures. Do you understand? So there is space. Look, after this, there is space here before the school admission. There is space, like everything.
Okay.
It makes your work look so neat. Imagine if they just
So now
brought
you
the
see
school
our
admission, they keep it around
Back
here,
cover is coming
right?
together.
The futures also
Okay.
is
I want
around
us to do
here
another
too.
thing. I want
Everything
us
is
to move
just
this
looking so
text,
jam packed.
Up
You
a
understand?
bit.
Even you yourself, it will
Let
be
it just,
difficult for
stay
you
like
to
around
read.
here.
So it is always it's
Right?
important
So
to leave
to do that,
empty
right,
space known as white space,
on
right?
this particular
When you
one,
are designing,
hold down your
because it
shift
makes
key. Shift key. If you look at your
it
keyboard,
makes
there's
the
the one
flyer
that says
or poster look neat, and then it is
SHIFT.
easily readable.
So hold
People
it
can read
down,
it, and it makes it
right?
even more
Just
attractive.
hold it down
Do you
and
understand?
then bring your cursor to
So
family.
now
Click
we are
on
going
family.
to look at the types of
Bring your cursor
layout.
to the most
So we
precious
just finished
treasure.
looking at the
Click on
key
it.
elements,
Okay.
right,
So now
in
you have
layout. So
selected
the
the
next thing
three
we are
of
going to
them,
look at is
and
types
then
of
you move
layout.
it up a bit.
So One of the
But
types
if
of
you are
layout is
using
known as
a,
grid
let me
layout,
undo this.
right?
If you are
So
using
grid layout uses
a
invisible
tablet,
lines to
which means
organize
that you
your
cannot hold the
content.
shift key,
Everything
just
lines
do
up
it one by
neatly.
one. If you
Great
click on
for
lovely, all right, you
professional
move
and
it
clean
up
designs.
like
So in
this, okay?
designing,
You
right,
click
guide, right,
like
to
this,
design.
okay?
Put up
You
guides
click
that
on the
help you
most
in
precious
designing
and
and
then
where
you
you
move it
place
up
some of the things that some of your
like
elements,
this.
right?
So now you have this
Now
already.
let's look at this, right?
So just
So this
move
is one
your
of the
text
example
up
of
a
how
bit
grid layouts
so
looks
that we
like.
have enough
Do you understand?
space
So you can
to
just
write
place like
our
a
description.
invisible line right here and here, and then just place your, see the travel tour is here, the picture, a picture, travel tour. So it starts at the price. So this is how one of the example of grid layouts. This is how it looks like. Do you understand? There is an invisible line, right? Where before
So
they
if
now
we have
place
done
this
that,
picture so that
the
they
next
get
thing we want to
the
do is to
exact shape
write the
of how they
description,
want it to be.
just like we have here.
So now the next
Okay.
one is known as freeform layout. Another type of layout is known as
So in
freeform
this
layout.
description,
So
just
in this
write
layout, no straight lines or
anything
structure,
that you want to
more
write.
playful and creative, perfect for
Okay.
art or kids events. So here there is no, you don't need to put any
So
lines in your
now,
designs. You
all
understand?
right,
You just
you just
play freely.
click on
But
the
in as
most
much as there
precious
is no
treasure.
line
Click on
or
it.
structure in the
The most
design, it
precious
still
treasure.
doesn't mean that
Click
your
on
design
it.
should look
Okay.
messy. Now let's look
Then
at
you will
this.
see
Right here.
duplicates.
So back to this Children's Day party.
All
If
right.
you
You
look
will
right
see
here now, you can see
duplicates.
there are some images
So
that are
just
here.
click on the duplicate.
Even the time is here, the date is here. There are some images that are here. Do you understand? So this is
Click
one of the
on the
examples. So even looking
and
at
then
this,
bring
even
it
though there
down
was
a
no line,
bit
there is no green line for it,
like this.
right? But then the design is
Okay.
still looking
Once
neat,
we
it's
have
still
this,
looking
let's click
fine.
on the shape, on the
You can
text
still read
again
it,
to bring out that
even though it's
blue
a freeform layout design.
color.
Do you
Alright, so now we
understand?
type. So for me, I
So
want to
now
type
the next layout that we're looking at
lovely
is centered
family.
layout, right?
So
So
just type
centered
what you
layout
think the
puts
lovely is all about.
the most important info
Okay,
in the
so now I'm
center,
typing
focus
lovely
attention right in the
family
middle, right? So this is illustration for center layout. So you put everything
is
in the
a
middle,
book
right? So now
about
let's look. If you look at this slide that
how
we have here, you see that everything was put in the
precious
center, right? So this is what we call center layout. So everything here
how
is on
precious
the center, starting from the
family
logo, the design, brand print,
is,
right? Welcome to everything was
and
put right
that
on the center. So that's all for the type of layout. So the next thing we are going to
and
look at
okay,
is
and
understanding
it
composition. You understand? So we're going to
teaches
understand what composition is all about.
us
So now
how
composition means how everything in your design works
to
together, right? Like a
love
team. It helps tell a story, show
and
emotion, or guide the eyes. You
treasure
understand? So composition now
our
is how everything that you choose,
family. Just with the name.
like a team,
Lovely
starting from
family.
the text that you choose,
Precious
the
treasure.
pictures,
I'm just
the
writing what I
colors,
feel like.
the shapes, right?
The movie-
These
the
are
book is
all
all about.
composition.
Okay.
So how you put
And
everything
make sure
together
for those people that did not use the
matters.
same
Do you understand? The
title
type of
for
font
us,
that
make
you
sure that what
choose
you are
doesn't match
typing
with the
is
picture, doesn't
according
match
to
with the
the
color
description
doesn't
you're
match
giving
with
is
the
according
font,
to your
right? With the color of the
head,
font,
your
right? So that's
your title,
composition.
your
Do
heading.
you understand? So your
Make sure
composition
it's
helps
according to
tell
your
a
title.
story, show emotion,
Okay.
and guide the viewer's eyes. That is the put a flyer. So now let's look at the key principles of composition, right? So now the first key principle of composition is what we call the rule of thirds, right? So the rule of third divides the space into 3 grids, right? Placing important elements along the lines or intersection for aesthetics balance.
Once you are done
So for
typing, let me
composition,
know
right,
so that we can change
we
the
have 3
font
grids.
and
Where we
the
talked
color.
about line grids in layouts, right? So here now we have 3 grids. So how do you place your pictures? How do you place your
Nice
elements?
one.
Do you understand? So you place it at the edge
Nice one.
of the line, like the intersection where the line meets, right? So you don't place it at the center, just like we have here.
Okay,
You
so
understand?
we
You
are
don't
not
place a
typing.
picture like this on the center like this, or your
Okay.
element or your font. So that's it.
So
now
that we are
see
done
we have a
typing,
picture
we would want
of
to
the wheel of
change
thought.
the
So now you
font.
see it has the
Okay,
3 by
so let's
3
change
lines,
the font,
right? So
and
now you
then
see
also
the picture
change
is
the
in
color.
the intersection
All right.
of the line.
So
The same thing with the creative marketing, that's the write-up.
to
You understand?
do
The
that,
picture is not
you guys
here
know now,
at
we
the
come to
center.
font here. So
Do you
the font we
understand?
want
So the
to
picture
use
is
right
here
now.
and then
Let's
the position.
So
Do
copy
you
is
understand? The rule of thought. So that's how the rule of thoughts work.
Poppins.
So, moving on, we have contrast, right?
P-O-P-I-N-S.
So differences in color, size,
Okay.
shape, or texture to create
So you click on
interest or
Poppins.
focus. Use big versus small, light versus dark to make
Alright,
something
so now
stand
I have
out.
this.
You understand? So for contrast, right?
Okay, now I have this.
For color, when you are
So,
designing, if you are
another
using
thing we
a dark
want to do,
background, you shouldn't use
Since we have
a
changed our
dark
font, you can
font.
also choose your own font.
I don't know if
For
you
us to
understand what I'm
click on
saying.
it, alright?
If you look
Click on
at
the
this now,
text,
let's take this
come to
rectangle
this
as our
place
background.
that says
Do you know there is
B, to make it
a
bold.
text written here?
After A, that's place is
But
B,
then
so
because
click on the B.
we have a black background, which
So
is
now,
already a
it is
dark
now
color, and then now I have a dark
Okay.
red color.
So the last step for
The
us is
text
for
that
us
is
to
written
change
here
the color.
It's not visible.
I want the
You can
color to
hardly
be
see
black.
it.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that
we
is the
come
light
to
for the light
A
versus
that
dark.
has a color
But then if you
under
look here
it,
now,
saying
we have
text color.
a dark background,
click
but then
on
we
it.
have a light text. Do you get?
Then
So for contrast,
come
right?
down here and
If your
it's
background,
black.
if you have a dark
Now
background, then you
have
should use
this.
a light color text, right?
But
if you have
look
a
at this,
light
you see that it is
background,
too
you should use
big.
a dark
Okay, so I
color
want
text.
to make it
That is
smaller.
for contrast.
So,
But then another thing is that
either
if you
decrease
have
it,
a big shape,
like
right,
this.
the next one should be small.
okay.
Do you understand? So you don't use two the same. You don't use a
So
dark
now I
color,
have this.
a
Just
dark
short
background color,
description
and you now come and use a
about
dark
what the
font
novel
on the
is
background
all
color.
about.
No, it doesn't work that way. Do you understand? So it has to
So
be
now I have
light
a short
versus
description
dark,
about
and
what
then
the novel
big
is all
versus small,
about.
so
So
that
have we changed our
it makes your
font
design
and
stand out and
color
then interesting. You get?
so that we can add the barcode?
So now for contrast, look at what we have here now. So if you look at this now, we have a light colored background here. This light
Okay,
blue that you
the
can see here.
text
And then look
is
now
of-
for the text now. But then if you look at this part, right, where the day, Saturday, you see the day part touched the visible than here. Why? Because this is a dark background, right? And then this is a light color. Do you understand? This is a dark color and this is a light
Chizzy,
color.
what
So
is
that's why
it?
here is more visible than here. Here you can hardly read it. For somebody who
Chizzy, what
has
is
an
it?
eye
Why are you
problem,
crying?
person will hardly see this thing. But then if you look at it from this side, you can see that it's readable from here. So that is it. But then this is actually a bad design, but I just used it to show you guys what
Okay.
contract is all about. So now we
Alright,
have the
so-
next one, which is emphasis. So directing the viewer's
The
attention
next
to
thing
the
we want
most
to do is
important
to
part
add
of the
the
design, make the
barcode.
most important thing pop
Okay,
out.
we need to add the barcode. But before we add the
Example,
barcode, I want
big
us to add like
title
a small
or a
white
bold
rectangle.
image. You know, this
here,
emphasis
where
is
we are
just
going to
like
place the
hierarchy.
barcode.
Do you
so that it
understand?
will be
So
visible,
it's just like
okay?
hierarchy in
So
layout.
we are going
When we
to
talk
come to
about
choose
the you get like we
click
have
on
an
shapes,
illustration here. We have title
a
and
rectangle,
subheading. The title
alright?
is bigger than the subheading.
So now
But
we
then
have
if
a
you look at this
rectangle
one,
here.
let's say that this technique
Okay,
is the
so we
image.
bring it
The
down.
image is
Okay,
big
before
and the
we bring it down, let's
subheading
change
is
the
big.
color so that
And then the title is actually
see what we
smaller
are doing.
than
So
the
I change
image
the
and
color
design should be.
to white
Now
color.
let's look
like
at this. So if you look at this
We'll
this
bring it
image
down.
right here, what it's trying to tell us about is the
This.
Valentine's poem.
And we
And that is
size.
this flyer. The first thing that my
Just-
eye
it's
goes
just
to
going
is
to
the
serve
Valentine's.
you-
This flyer. The first thing that my
Just-
eye
it's
goes
just
to
going
is
to
the
serve
Valentine's
you
poem, and
as
which is
a
the main
holder
message
for
that they are
our-
trying to stand out more than
So if we
other
have this white
elements. Do you
rectangle
understand?
here, the next thing
So
for
now,
us to do is to
we
go
have
to
what we call
elements
repetition.
and get our barcode.
So in design, it's advisable
Okay.
that you repeat what we call
elements
repetition.
and get our barcode.
So in design, it's advisable
Okay.
that you repeat colors
So you
or
go
shapes. Do you
click
get?
on
So if
the
you look at the
element
illustration here, we
and
use
then
the same
clear the
shapes.
card.
But then here, we have different shape,
Enter.
right, and different colors, and it makes your design not look good,
Enter.
right, and different colors, and it makes your design not look good. So in designing,
So
when you're
you go to
designing, it's
graphics,
usually shapes,
and then you
and
click
then
on
repeat the
see
colors
all.
that you are using, colors that you are using. Now let's look at this flyer.
So see, there are
As
different
an example.
barcodes here.
So if you look at this
Can
flyer
use,
here,
okay.
you understand that basically
But I want
they
to use
use
this particular one
most
here.
shapes, most colors that
So
they
this
use
one
are just two
is in
colors,
vertical
which are the
shape.
green and the blue colors here.
Vertical line.
Do you
sorry.
understand?
This one
But
is
then,
what I want to use.
what I actually want to show you guys here is
Right.
the shape, repetition of
That's
shape
what
that
I
was
want
used here.
to use.
Because that this design has so many colors right now is
I want to
because
use this
it has to
one.
do with children. You
So
know, children
I'll
have
click
like
on it.
colorful things.
See, it have
And then in
appeared
design,
here.
you don't just use one color
Okay.
to design.
So
Do you understand? You can use
the
from
first thing
two
I want to do is
upwards
to rotate this.
to design.
All right.
From
So
two colors,
if you look
three
at
colors,
here,
four
this
colors
is the rotate
to
icon.
design. You don't use one color because it makes your design look
Okay.
dull.
This is the
Do
rotate
you understand?
icon.
What I'm trying to show you guys here
We
is the
use
shape.
it and then we
You see the
rotate
repetition of shape
like
that I'm
this.
talking about. If you look at here, they used three the same
So now
shapes,
we have
the
this.
same thing with here, and they
Then we
repeated the
scale
circle
it
right
down
here. Do you understand? So they repeated
so
the
that it will
shapes
relate
that they
to.
used right here. So they did not come here and put
So
a rectangle
now we
and then
have
carry
this.
this circle and come and put
I
here,
want to scale
and
it
then
down
carry
a bit.
another rectangle and come
But
and
then
put
if
here.
you are
No,
looking,
they
this is
repeated
how
the
I want
shapes.
it to
And then
be.
the same
Okay,
thing
but
for
then
the
the
ones
rectangle that
under
I
it.
brought for
They
it
repeated it.
is too
Then
short.
if you
So
look at the
what do I
circle
do?
here
I
too, they repeated
increase
the
the
circle.
rectangle.
Do you understand? So in design, it's always advised that you repeat the elements
So
that
my
are using
rectangle
to
is now
work,
like
like
this.
shapes and colors.
So I
You
just
get?
take this barcode.
So
and
now
then
that we have understand how to arrange our designs using
take this
layout and
barcode,
composition,
okay,
let's now
and
put
then I will
all
now
this
place
knowledge
it
into action.
here.
Do you understand?
So
So
I have this. Have you seen the
now we're going to
essence?
design a sports day flyer, something
The
fun,
white
bold,
rectangle.
and exciting, right? That
That
can
we
invite
got.
students to big events. I will show you how to do it step by step, and then we'll get a chance to create our own flyer.
So
You
make
get?
sure
So now let's
very
run
well.
down through the steps of the flyer that we are going to create. So to create right here. Do you understand? This is the flyer that we are going to create. So first of all, I'll show you guys. You guys know how we do it now. We'll first of all go through the steps and then we'll go to our Canva and we'll start designing. Right? So let's get the steps on how to do it. So
now
step
I
one,
have this
as we all know, step one will
for our
always be
barcode.
to create a new document
barcode
size,
now, we
right,
have
for
this.
our design. That is usually the steps, right? So the document size you're going to use here is poster portrait. Do you understand? So to create a new document size, we will come to this tray bar here and click on it, right? Click on create design and then choose the one that you want to use. Do you get? So now the next one is to add a background color. So once we are done, the next thing we're supposed to do is to add a background color for the design that we are going to design. So the color that we use for this design is a soft cream color, right? That was the color that we used for this background. So now the next step for us to do is to add a green rectangle. You understand? A green rectangle that looks like the header, right? So how can we add this? And then we click on shapes and then we add a rectangle. Then we resize it and change the color to what we want it to be. Then after that, the next thing we are going to do is to add a green circle, right? So we want to add a green circle so that it looks like a grass.
Just like
Do you understand? So we go to choose again, we click on the shape and then we choose circle. So once we get this, we resize it.
So the most
Right, we
important part
increase
now
the
for
size
us
and then we
is
place
to
it
save
right
our
here
work,
so that it
to
gives us
download
this
our work.
ground kind of
Okay. So to
shape,
download this work
right?
now, go
So
to share.
after that, the next
Share.
step which we are going to do
Alright.
is to add illustrations
share.
or image.
And then
So we just
click
go to
on
the element and we
download
search
down
cute
here.
playful children
Click
in
on download.
soccer costume, right? And place it as
Alright.
you see right here. Do you guys understand? So once we get it, this is the particular
next?
image that we use. So we just want it to be.
Okay.
Then
So
after
you can
that,
download as a
the
PDF,
next step which we are going
or
to
you can download
take is to add the
as a
basketball. You know, there's a
PNG.
basketball near it.
Okay.
So you just go back to elements, right, and
So
just
you
search
just
for
click on
basketball
download.
and then pick one,
And you see
that
our
we
test
need,
is
and
downloading
then
here.
place it where we want to be, resize and place where you want it to be. So now the next thing for us to do is to add a title. Now we are done creating
So
the
and the
background,
design
right?
is almost
Is to add the title. So you just go to text, right? Click on add a text box, then type the Kick Sports Day 2025 and change the font to
so
Gospels
now we
Display,
have downloaded
right?
our
And then
work.
resize it to
Okay, so if you know
160,
you are done, can you
and then
send,
change the size to
let's see,
146.
and then give
Yes,
corrections?
so we use this font because it's a display font, right? You say display fonts are mostly used for advertisements, and we are advertising the Kids Sports Day, right? So that's why we use this
Favor,
display
please
font right
reduce
here.
the author's
now,
name.
The
Your
next
name,
one is to
reduce it
add
a
the
bit.
school name, right? So we'll
Alright.
add our school name
Your work is
on
nice,
top.
but then I want
of
you to
the header.
reduce the
So
the
we
author's
change the
name. It
font
should
to
be
and
tiny.
the font size.
Alright, because that's
So
not
after
the
that,
main thing we
the
want to
next thing we
show.
want to do
Okay, and
is
also
to add all the information
alright,
that
the
will be
lovely
needed for
family,
the
which is
event,
the title,
right? So
should
we'll
be
add
the
it
biggest
right here,
font there. It should be
and then
what people see first
voila,
when they
we
look
already
at the
have
book. Okay,
our
so increase the lovely
we already
family.
have our flyer
Reduce the
right here.
your
So
name.
now
Alright,
let's go
and
to our
then the
Canva
illustration
and then make
family also.
this
Okay,
design.
Iroluwa,
We are
this
in
is
our
nice.
Canva homepage, right? We are in our Canva right now. We are in our Canva homepage. So we need to create a document size, right? So
Okay.
we come here, we
Nice
click here,
one.
right? And
But then look
click
at
on
what I want you
create
to do for me, alright?
a new design.
Reduce, the description
You understand?
that we wrote, alright?
So
Reduce it a bit.
I have
I
it
don't
right
want it
here,
to
so I just
touch
click on
the
it.
edge.
Poster
Alright, so
photos.
just
So
reduce
I
it a
click on
bit.
it. Sorry that this is taking time. It's because of network. But
Nice
then we
one.
already have
Nice
our
one.
document
But
size here.
your own correction
That's
is this.
just for the icons
Okay.
to load.
The barcode, make sure that
Alright.
it fits
So
in
now we
that
have this.
rectangle.
So we
I
are
can
taking the
see
first step,
some
which is
parts
creating our document size. So the next
out
thing
of it.
which we are supposed to do is
Okay.
to
So make sure that it
add
fits.
our background color, right? So this is how it looks like. But then if I click on this
Who's on
background
this?
now, you see that something
Trust
shows.
Bridge, this is nice.
See, if I click on it, the background color shows. So
This is
I
nice.
click
Oh,
on the
you got
background
your-
color right here, and then it's time for me to change the color to what I want it to be, right?
Okay.
So
Nice
I
one.
click on it.
Ajulo, nice
You need
one.
to get
too.
like a cream kind of
Lovely.
color.
Iroluwa, still reduce it.
So now I've gotten my color, right? I've gotten my background color. So now the next thing which I'm supposed to do is to
nice
add
one.
the green
That's a nice
rectangle.
one.
That is the next step, right? So add this
Where is the back
rectangle. We
cover?
come down here to tools, we click on tools, then we come to click on the rectangle here, and we have this. Then we expand it like this, right? Then we place it right here. Do you
Isabella,
understand?
I want
And then let me
your,
resize this a little
your
bit. So now we have the header,
title. I
right?
want
So
it to
the next
be
thing
in
for
the
us is
middle.
to change the color. So we come
Okay,
here
make sure that they are all in the
and
middle.
then we need to change the color.
It's
So I
fine,
put this.
but then
This is
make
what
sure
I
that
want.
they are
I
in
want
the
it to
middle.
be a little
Okay.
darker.
And
I want
then
it to be darker
make
than
sure they are
that.
in the middle.
So,
And then your description is too small and is in capital letter. So I don't want it to
I
be in
bring it
capital
down
letter,
a
your
little bit
description. I
like
don't want it
this.
to be in capital letter, and I want you to add more. Because you just
So
say
for
a
my
lovely,
background color, I
happy
think this
family.
is too
So
bright
just
for
add,
me. So
like 2 to 3
I
lines
just
of the novel
bring
description,
it
okay?
up a
And then
little
shift
bit. Yeah,
it to
this
the
is
middle.
how I want it
That's
to
for
be.
Isabella.
So now I have the green rectangle, right? So the next step for us is to get our
Zara
grass,
blessing.
right?
Nice
Using the
one.
shape rule.
This is nice.
Shape. So we come back to shape here, we click on it, we get our circle, and then in order to be able to achieve this, we resize it from the sides, from this angle. We're going to resize it from this angle, not from here. So, and then now we're not going to hold the Alt key to resize because we don't want it to resize uniformly, right? So we resize it like this, and then we come down here, we make it bigger. So now we place this
what I
right
want you to do
here,
for me is to with
and
the
that is
description
how we
a
get
bit.
our grass shape. So now we have our grass shape right here. So now we have created this one.
No,
and
don't
we've
leave
created
because
this
I've
one.
not given the
So
assignment.
the next step for us is to add the image. Do you understand? So for us to add the image, we click on elements, and then we search playful
Yes, nice one. Also, reduce your
children
description a bit. Okay, so for
costume.
your assignment, all right, for your mini project, okay,
And press enter so that it can search for
I
us, right? So we come to this
want you
arrow
guys
right
to,
here, we
make
place
another
here,
book
we click
cover.
here, we click
Okay.
here.
But this
Now
time
see the
around,
image
I
I
don't
want
want
to
you
use
using the
right
same
here.
elements that
Yes,
we
and this
use.
is
I
the
don't
image
want
I
you
want to
using the
use
same
right here. So
color
I
that
click
we
on
use.
this
Make
image.
something different, and then if you know the corrections
I
that
click
will
on
be
it,
given to you,
and then the
make sure
image
you
appears
apply
here.
there, all right?
Do you
In
get?
the
So
next
I
one that
place
we are
it
going
right
to.
here, like this.
Okay, so that is for your mini
Place it
project.
right
So
here,
I'm going
like
to
this, right?
recreate this design.
So if we
You
want,
can
we
decide to
can
follow the steps,
make
but
it big
don't
a
do the
little.
same. Don't follow the same
Boom.
layout.
Right.
Don't use the
So now
same
we have this.
color, same image.
Yes, and then I want to change this their yellow. I don't like the yellow color, so I want to change it
Do your own thing, all
the
right?
yellow color,
So,
right?
That
So
will be the
now
end. But then again, before
I
you guys
come
leave,
down here
we are going to
to
tap
this color
for.
palette here. What color do I want to change it to? Because that should be the next question.
Fastest
What
person
color
yesterday.
do I want to change it
So
to?
you guys should tell me in the group that who
Right.
is fastest today.
So let's come down here to our color palette and then check the color we would like to change it to. Or should we just leave it like this?
So who is the fastest person today?
All right, let's leave it like this and just maybe
Someone
just
said
change the
Azam,
blue
someone
color
said
to
Tiwa.
a darker
So
blue.
who? Azam or Tiwa? But then
Yes, let's
Tiwa
just
was
change the blue
not
color like
replying.
this. So we
I
changed the
think
blue
it's
one
Azam.
and just left the yellow. We changed the blue ones and just left the yellow. So now we have this. Remember, you can also change the colors however you want. Do you understand? You can change the colors to anyhow you want it to.
Okay.
So the next step for us to do now is to get our
No, do you have to
ball.
say it was
You know,
not
there's
you.
a
I think
basketball
it
that
was
was
Azam.
around
So now,
the side. So the next thing we need to do is
you're
for us
going
to get our
unmute
basketball.
yourself, and then we are
So
going
we
to
come
clap
back
for
here to
you.
elements, right?
Because
And then
he
we remove this one and then we
she was the first
search
person yesterday.
Yes.
basket.
Well done, class.
Ball.
Everybody make sure
Press
you clap.
enter.
So that next time we'll clap for you. Alright?
So now
Why people not clapping? People want to clap
we
for
have
somebody.
this. So I'm going to do this particular one right here.
Nice one,
And then I
Favor.
will
Wait,
resize
it's only
it
people that
how I
clap.
want it to be and place it here. It's still too big, so I just resize it a little more and place it here. Maybe resize it again.
Let's do it.
Right, so
Let's
now
do
I
it
have
together. Hold on,
my
hold on,
ball
hold on. Let's do it together.
placed
So
right
well
here.
done. Go.
So now we are done with the background. So the next thing for us to do is to add the title. Right here, to add the title. So for us to do that, we come to text right here. We click on this add a text. Remember, you can always choose your tests here. They are already made tests for you, test templates, customized tests, anyone you want to call it. They already made tests for you here, which you can just choose and edit it how you want. You understand? But I don't want to use this ones here. I want to make my own test. So I click here,
Hold on,
and then you see the text box came in, but then it's too small. So what do I have to do first? I'll first of all have to resize it by holding this circle, this thing you're seeing here, and then I'm moving outwards. So that means that I'm scaling it.
Yes.
So I carry it and then I place it here.
Eh?
You understand? So now I write my test. What do I need to write? I write kids.
Why don't you want to clap for the fastest person yesterday?
I write kids sports.
If you want us to clap for you, then you should be the fastest in our next class. and everybody will clap for you. So
the
now we are going to clap for Favor again. Ujunwa. Sorry.
2025,
Clap for
right?
Ujunwa again.
So now we have
And
our
then
text
after,
right
we
here.
clap for
So the
Asa.
next thing for us
Ujunwa
to
was
do
the
now
fastest
is to
person
change the
and
font,
today is Asa.
right? We need
We are
to
going
change the
clap
font.
for
So we
Ujunwa
change the
first,
font
and
to
the next person is Asa.
Golf's
Hope you guys are okay with it.
display. Oh, sorry, this wasn't typing.
Okay, so
So we
now
change it to Golf,
I'm going to unmute you guys
Golf's
so that people will clap that
This.
clap again.
play. So you press enter and then see it right here. So
So
click on it. Oh,
one, two, ready, go.
I don't know what I pressed. And then let's do it again. Okay. So we're already searching for it. So we click on it, right? And then this is our test. So now we need to put this to the size we want, which is what?
Okay, so the next person we are going to clap for
146.
is Azam, who is the
Right?
fastest
This is
person
the size we
today.
want it to
So
be. So
one,
then
two,
just place
ready,
it
go.
here. So my line spacing is too much. So I need to work with that.
Okay.
So now I have
So if you
this.
want us to clap for you,
Yes.
then next time it will be
I have
our
this.
fastest.
The line
Okay.
spacing is still too
So
much.
that
It's
brings
still
us
is
to the
now.
end of today's class. All right.
So I think this
See you
is
guys
okay.
tomorrow. Bye.
So the next thing we need to do.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
So the next thing we need to do, right, is for us to change the color. This is black, but then we want it to be white. So how do we change the color of the font? Come to this A letter that has so many colors under, right? You see, it's writing text color. So you click on it, and then we come down here and we change it to white. So now we have this. Do you understand? So I think we should increase our rectangle a bit so that this balance very well. So now, yeah. So now we have this. And another thing, when designing, right, because you know you're talking about layouts and compositions. When designing, this thing shouldn't just start from here. You see, mine did not start from there, so you have to start from here, somewhere here. So this is okay for me. Do you understand? Then I have to change this to be like this. So now, I now have my Kids Sports Day 2025. Do you get? So the next step, which I need to take, is for us to write the school name, which should be on top. So how do we do this again? We come back to test right here, click on test. We add another test box. Is here again, but this time around also it is small. So what do? We resize it. Remember, you can also resize it from here by adding, if I keep on clicking on the cross sign here, it is increasing. Do you understand? That is another way that you can change your distance. So now we have to write. For me, I'm going to write Richard James. So for you, you need to put the name of your school. So I write Digital Dreams ICT Academy. So that's for me. So now I need to change the color of the font, but then first of all, let's change the font itself, because this is not the font that I would like to use, right? So we come here. Remember, the name of the fonts are written on the step. So we look for Garat. So we look for Garat. Sorry, here. Let's remove this one that we started before. So we come here, we look for Garat.